to try and get it up to purple. So 225 damage total to basically secure yourself a purple armor, 200 HP armor. Not hard at all, but definitely it going down to 625 for red armor is probably the biggest strength to try and get that 225 damage there. 225 HP, excuse me, going into the late game.
Absolutely. Now taking a look here at the Weiger side as we saw them qualify, taking a look at exactly how they came in. If I'm not mistaken, coming into this tournament is the 8th in their semifinal. Crip, of course, I believe the only player hailing from Spain in this tournament, so good to see representation all over Europe, of course, here in this afternoon broadcast. If you're joining us from North America, or evening, of course, if you're joining in from Europe itself. But now that's going to be a lot of trouble here for teams on this northern part of the epicenter ridge, getting into a little bit of trouble. We do see some Weigers players going down there in the feed.
Yeah, Outsiders not really living up to their name. They're more like the gatekeepers here, as they have a great ridge line to work with. As teams, so many teams, surprisingly, were on this northeast side of the map, making some weird rotations, and now they're getting caught out. I think they just weren't expecting people to be here to try and gatekeep them, but sure enough, there they are right now. Taze goes down first for his team. Now it's going to be a 2v2, looks like, in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Needs to be careful. Stanny also in a lot of trouble. That's just going to leave Sadiyama and Taze both down. Now Stanny trying to get this, is able to get the fast heal, but it might not be enough. Now going to rely on the gold and the PK to try to stay alive here. It's not going to be easy. We'll see if the pressure does come in. You see both of his teammates thirsted. And needs to be careful here as this is not
いや、区内欲しいはわかるわ。いくらつぎ込めって言わずけど、これ10万もろたら全部これにつぎ込んだらいいやん。
Teams that are anywhere around this area are going to have to make these western moves, and it's not going to be easy because it's pretty packed or pretty stacked on this northeastern side right now.
Yeah, and it looks like he is, of course, going to be by himself. NWR will be able to stabilize off of that. They did not lose a member. Want to see, it looks like NWR are going to try and camp this body, right? They know that they didn't get the third. The Wraith is still out there. The bodies are right there. They were going to try and camp this out.
あ、じゃあ半分のお金で区内手に入るやん。残り半分でどう盛りやろ。
So I like this move coming out from them while they decide they have another 30 seconds before they have to start making their rotate, but making sure that Red Reserve isn't able to get back into this game, I think would be a huge boon going into these next few zones.
いやでも区内よりかはね、パスファインダーメインやけんな、パスのボクシンググローブ欲しいかな。レイシスうまいこと立ち回りがね、行くことがね、なんかウルトね、使うところがわからないね。どうぼり持ってますってちょっとやってないけど。ブラ使わんもんな。いや、レブナントめっちゃ使い出したけん、レブナントのそういう武器系出してほしい。はーし、いや、いいな、どうもりはいいな。羨ましいな、普通に。いや、厳しいな、それは。やばくね？もう第4アンチでまだ16パーティーはきつくね？折りすぎだろ。
With great game one performance in the last online tournament. They were leading after 2 games, however, finished in the end 6th, I believe, in the last online event. Going to look to get a higher placing overall in online tournament number 4. As we take a look at them, they're able to loot and heal up as well. Now 16 squads remaining.
Yeah, we were talking about, of course, you can't just have one standout performance or 2 standout performances. You need to be consistent across the board. And in the last online tournament, Myth struggled in games 3 to 5.
お互い遮蔽物なさすぎだろこれ。
Not enough to really try and close it out. We can see if they
いや、
have a
PS4 差はもう、いや、それは高いに決まっちゃう。PC だけが高いわけだよ。
Red and double purple, really nice job able to get some extra breaks here and now making this push, making it look easy, pushing so well together, wrapping around the corner, laying down great shots with the G7s. R99's coming a kill leader here now for In Style. He's able to grab his third and they are looking
や
very
ば、
good.
ほ
We
と
saw
んど
them
がフルパで
earlier on
残
the
っちゃる
bottom
の
of
がす
epicenter.
げえな。
Have they ever made a great rotation from that bottom center epicenter now, even further west?
Yeah, Myth
も
had the advantage
う、もう
of
これ
starting
隠
off.
れる
There
と
was
こ
a
な
team
い
that
の。
were actually gatekeeping. We saw the port coming in, or
いや、
actually
多
the
分2
Raven
試合目
team
やと思う。
earlier
さっきや
on.
りよったろ。
And a lot of teams
1
getting
試合
caught
目。
up on that. I believe it was Weigers who were caught out by Myth. But it looked like Myth just didn't use that advantage. Honestly, they just kind of
マ
held
ス
the
動か
position
さん
and
よ。
allowed
電撃
them
事
to
故。
walk up to them. You should not allow that to happen. You need to make sure your presence is known and you're able to keep track of all the teams. They should have known that there was another team there. If they got caught up by
1チーム
surprise,
に絶対
that
ジブラル
is
タルがおる。
really surprising and kind of worried.
Absolutely. Now taking a look, we just got to look at a few of the teams that are already set up on that outskirts train station. As you'd expect, every single building there, and pretty soon every single rock will be held down as we look like we are going to close in essentially right on that outskirts station that's just outside of that Skyhook Northern Pass. There's still a few teams that are going to try to make it in from the south as well. As we take a look at EXE momentarily, they are going to dome and heal as well to avoid any damage that might have been coming in. Now 14 squads left, and they're going to be forced to move very quickly here. They have a little bit of edge that they're able to play, but now going to need to TP through all the way back towards the north.
そうやね。いや、やっぱまあ固定されてくるろ。強いレジェンドは。ワットソン、レイス、ジブラルタルなんて定番やろ。多分。大会でブラハ使いようやつおったら勇者すぎるけど。
Nasky, Strafe, and Delder, I know they're in the center here. NWR have had a good run of it so far, but they have lost one member back on board with AHD, though. They're still
いや、マジでほとんどのパーティーがレイス、パスファイ、あ、じゃあ、ジブラルタルにワットソンやな。
This is actually the first time when we saw that
いや、ブラハはね、索敵はいいけどね、音聞こえるし、マジ、ブラハで聞こえる、見える範囲、音聞こえるし、しかもめちゃくちゃ遠くのやつ知っても近づいたらバレるし。
Navi able to make it in top 10 with only 2 players there, but also checking in with Alliance. Keep in mind, they had a 10th place finish in game number 1 with 0 kills total, so they know
ブラハウルトの方もうちょっと強化入れてほしいよね。
But again, we talked about that win condition for Alliance, making sure that the caustic gets to the late game, and now here we are.
いやー、
into
その
the
立ち回りは。
here as 9 squads remaining now as Nasky, Strafe, and Dell will finish off Faizu.
やけどまだ第5アンチで9パー残っちゃうのがすげえ。
Solo Rat tried his best, at least got into the top 10 position. But Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, I want to talk about this. We were talking about earlier on how they didn't have as many kill points as we were expecting from the position that they had early on. But here they are. They've
この
got
チーム
center
は
zone
コ
and
ス
they're
ティッ
doing
ク。
a
うわ、め
really
ちゃくちゃ
great
ガチ
job
ガチに固めれるパーティーやねん、
on
こ
the
のチーム。
outskirts of the map from their center position.
Absolutely, now going to be able to hold this down. Once again, some low ground that they're able to hold, and it's going to be very advantageous just with the way that they're fenced up and able to be very selective.
エイムよ。
That they take 6 squads left, Cooler going down in the feed there as well. You see some pings coming in, and they're going to go ahead and get back to the building they were at just a bit ago. As we now take a look also at the Gamers Origin
いや、
side.
まあまあ、バニホしながら回復できるって言っても、ブラハのウルト使いよ時に逃げることがほとんどねえし。超索敵はしやすいけどね、あれ。確かに。味方にブラハとミラージュ来た時めちゃくちゃ萎えるけどね、ゴールド帯でやりよっても、プラチナ帯とか。
Yeah, absolutely ad hoc with some great angles here. Keep in mind the roofs of this
オ
building.
クタンは強いと思
Several
う。
of them angled. They're going to be able to be very selective.
てか、レベナントの強化がめちゃくちゃ入りすぎ。あれはマジで強すぎ。いや、この位置強え。
They've got plenty of time to reset here. I think you just play for time. There's 6 squads left, 16 players remaining. There should be a rat somewhere hanging around.
レベナントね、マジ20秒はね、逃げれんけんね。きつすぎる。そのくせ打っても50回復で戻られるし。
Absolutely. Now we know there's at least 3 teams on this building, and now with 6 squads left, that we do.
いやけど友達にミラージュでダイヤモンド帯まで頑張っていったやつがおるけんな。使いようなんだよな。
That should be, yes indeed. Now taking a look at exactly it's going to be Kuya that eventually gets the kill there on straight. But now the TP is coming out for the Gamers Origin side. It's going to be serious setting that and trying to get across.
もうなんか全体的にみんな回復がなくて大変って感じだな。残り5%。レブナントの虚空で逃げれんが逃げれんなるがね強いと思う。あれは本当に20秒逃げれんはもう痛すぎる。あと自分のシールド消せるのが本当にでけえ。
Gonna just hold up if they can. Now also a Phoenix coming in here, but now the damage is gonna be coming down. The bubble will protect them as well momentarily.
そうやけどこの場合あとコースティックの方が強いと思うぞ。コースティックの煙めちゃくちゃ仕掛けられちゃったらもう無理だろ。ただ味方のとか敵のが分からんなった時のコースティック以外の味方がめちゃくちゃ戸惑うけど。やべえな。めちゃくちゃヘイト。お、残り3%。いやー、これはこいつ死んだな。うまい、121。うまい。そっから勝っていく一人で。やば。うま。ラストうま。いやまあそこは連携取らんとね、コースティックはやっぱ。でもあれね、見えんようにできるけん。あれやね、バンガーロールの煙と同じような感じの役割も使えるけんな。
Yeah, definitely here. I felt like the priority was definitely on Alliance, but I think with so many Gibraltars on the field, they just weren't able to play around the bubbles as well. They got into a big fight on the southern side. They didn't clean up their fights fast enough. That's the big thing about Apex Legends. You need to be able to close out your fights cleanly and quickly. Otherwise, other teams are going to get involved, and that's exactly what we saw there.
Absolutely. SJP2, in the end, they're able to close out first place with their 2 kills. Just 2. Once again, same story as that first game. As we take a look.
いや、ラストの人のあれうますぎやろ。
Let me make sure. Excuse me. Alliance in the end that does get third and our XCC squad.
あ、ここから1対2で勝てるのがすげえな。ピースキッパーあんなにダメージ入らんし、俺打っても。
As well as Alliance picking up 5. So once again, spots 2 and 3 picking up more than the first place team. Goes again to kind of show you just the play style that these teams are playing so positionally heavy. These are not high kill wins for those of you new to competitive Apex Legends. In regions like North America, you're typically going to see much higher kill counts from those top teams. However, we're seeing really position heavy play still from Europe. But in the end, your 1, 2, 3 are SJP, XCC, and Alliance for game number 2.
Yeah, and so not surprising that Alliance were able to make their way into the top 3. I was just really expecting them to be able to drive the game home, especially once they get the late game. And we saw during online too that every time that they got into the late game with the Caustic that they were able to win out in their lobby and do it in convincing fashion. This time around, not quite so. And I think one of the issues is that like this finals is one of the deadliest finals that we've had. Now, there are a lot of teams that we're not that we were expecting to make it to finals that aren't here today, but across the board, I think EU just has a really deep pool of talents. And some of these names might not be familiar to you, to those at home, but there are still some nasty players that are still relatively unknowns.
Absolutely. Now, take a look at those top 3. I mean, your top 3 that just placed in that game number 2, none of them were even in the top 5.
多分あいつのプレイやべえぜって
So very
言うわ
exciting
よ。
games 3 through 5 coming up, and to get us ready for those, we're going to go back to Rain Day and Hodsig on the desk. Guys, over to you.
So, Hodsig, I've been talking a little bit about, you know, when I this brought up to mind, I've been doing some cooking at home, and I did some slow cooked burgers, and my parents were like, "What's going on? Why is dinner taking so long?" I said, well, just wait. It will get good soon. And it's almost like the exact mirror of how these tournaments go. You have these setups, these narratives, and then all of a sudden it just builds. And game 2 was the perfect example of that, with a huge crescendo of flavor, man. I'm talking magnificent. What an ending. What a performance by SJP2. What a 1v2. I mean, we just got to talk about this, man. That was some of the best clutch plays we've seen in competitive Apex.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anytime you can even winning a 1v1 in the late game with so many different variables going on is impressive. But winning a 1v2, on top of the fact that that was the entire team's only 2 kills throughout that entire match. Crazy. So for him to even like stay warm, for his aim to feel good, he hit some really chunky peacekeeper shots. It's not like he cleaned up. I'm pretty sure they were both completely full health.
これよな、これうますぎよな。
Yeah, and Denze, you know, he comes at the perfect moment, too, and he recognizes the situation. There was so much going on between Alliance and XCC, and he took advantage of pushing that perfect...
いや、ラストうますぎよな、こいつ。
right there was really the difference maker, and the fact that he was able to reload that R99 as well. Poke shots, pressure, adjustments, using the fence as a little bit of cover so he could isolate the 1v1.
いや、ほんとそれ。あの場面で勝てたわ、やばい。
He played that perfectly and puts SJP2 on the map in a way we weren't expecting. That looked like Alliance or maybe Ad Hoc Gaming's game, especially X-Crowd's game after they had just taken down Alliance like that.
Oh, absolutely. But one thing definitely to
いや、あそこでピースキーパーでゴリ押ししようとか思わんもんな。 That
doesn't mean, you know, they're somehow way higher than others. I don't quite have the exact count, but you know, if Alliance had more, because first place is great, but 2 kills is not going to actually net you a lot of points. It's very likely that second or third or maybe even fourth might have more points just from the kills. We don't have the numbers yet in front of us, but don't be surprised if they didn't get the most amount of points of that entire game. I would be surprised, honestly, if it wasn't Alliance.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, I think we saw a lot of different teams have successful moments. And in fact, SJB2 were kind of a... you know, in a mystery novel, the person who walks in scene 1 and then walks out and kind of nobody expects them turns out to be the guy who did it at the very end. SJP2 were actually in the middle of that skirmish, and they ended up kind of taking the spot Gamers Origin had underneath that building with that Watson pylon, just kind of in between those boxes. And people forgot about them. I mean, Ad Hoc Gaming, I thought, was in a great position to take this game. They had high ground from the beginning. They could see where people were rotating to, and they got that raid portal off.
次の試合始まるまでに飲み物取ってこよう。
I don't know if you caught that clutch Phoenix kit, man, that we ended up getting, that ended up being a couple of kills for. Yeah, I mean, there were some beautiful plays there, but here is the leaderboard without further ado. X-Crow Crowd, SJP2, and Alliance taking your top 3, 15, 14, and 12 points, respectively. Notably, Nasky Strafedell, winners of Game 1, also having a pretty nice performance with 9, and Ad Hoc Gaming surprisingly having 8 after being in such a commanding position there. What are your thoughts seeing this?
It doesn't surprise me to see X-Crow Crowd racking up kills like that. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe they're Russian players. So Russians are, I think in all esports, Russians are typically known as a lot more aggressive players, a lot more mechanically gifted. I mean, look at Navi, for example. Those guys are nuts. But I mean, I'm not surprised to see SJP2 not actually taking most points from that game just because they only had 2 kills. Even Alliance was very close, placing, getting 12 points with 5 of them being kills. Yeah, I'm very curious to see now the max results. I would imagine that Alliance are actually closer to the top overall.
Well, look at this. Here we have the master results here. Nasky Strafedell with a 9-point performance and an 18-point performance before are still in number 1. X-Crow Crowd pushes themselves up, and SJP2 with that win. Now we're in 2nd place. We've got Outsiders, we've got Navi, we've got Gamers Origin, and then we've got Alliance sitting at 14. So despite a great game kind of bringing themselves in the conversation, only 2 points in round 1, which has really hurt them there. But, you know, big shout out as well. We didn't mention them. Number 4 in last game, No Weaver Esports, 10 points, 8 kills. So only 2 placement points, 8 kill points to put themselves in 11th right now, and still kind of in the conversation amongst the 10 to the bottom 10 teams.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's still anyone's game. Nasky Strafedell did exactly what they needed to do. Like I said, like they didn't put up a crazy amount of points. I think they got like, what, 9 that game? Yeah. And that's not a crazy amount. That's a very, like, just slightly above average game, but it's doing the trick. Like I said, all they have to worry about, and I'm sure that's probably what they're talking about, is just making sure they stay alive. Kills aren't all that big of a deal. Just make sure they have a good spot in the circle, and that teams around them are dying more so than them. So they're doing really well. It's still anyone's game. You could, like, I mean, you could easily put up like 30+ points a game if you have one massive game. So it's not it's not crazy to say that it's still anyone's game yet, I think.
No, yeah, still slow burning for sure. And SJP2 got to watch out, especially after Denzei, I believe, with a fantastic finish. But there were a lot of great moments that happened in that final game as well. And I think we got a chance to see how good Hawkes actually really is as well. Just getting that clutch Phoenix off from Alliance. I don't know if many people caught it, but it was just a half second before he was finished versus getting a full health kit back. He gets a couple of downs there. He also gets an armor swap to a purple. Is able to finish that off. But, you know, armor's a good conversation because these late game teams, a lot of them had the new Evo shields. And we heard Jamerson talking about it a little bit. Hodzic, you've been involved in this play and coaching. Where does the new Evo shield kind of stand, especially with the changes to now be able to level it up to its final form faster as far as competitive play and in relationship to the gold shield?
Right. So gold shield is still by and large the strongest thing you can have, even if you have a red. The ability to pop a battery in like 1 second and just get 100 health is crazy. I mean, you saw if Hawkes didn't have a gold there, he probably doesn't pop a Phoenix, but let's just assume he does. He popped a Phoenix. He saw that team look at him with like 1.5 seconds left, and he was like, "Nah, I'm just gonna stick this." Thanks to the gold armor. That's how good it is. And all of a sudden, he's at max HP. Like that's how good it is. But Evo in general is very strong. You don't see it as much in pubs, maybe ranked, but in competitive play, it definitely takes the forefront. When I usually coach whatever team I'm coaching, because I'm kind of all over the place at the moment, I usually tell people if you don't have an Evo armor near you, near the point that you want to like take, like say you find a building but there's no Evo in there.
Right.
I usually tell them if the rotation isn't crazy risky, if you have any Evo armor option and you only have like a blue or worse, take the Evo. Especially now with the recent buffs, it's so easy to level. Slap a charge rifle on the guy with the Evo, and that thing will be red in no time. Like the charge rifle is so good with it.
Yeah, and that combination too, you may be saying, why are we seeing so many charge rifles? Why have we seen that kind of resurgence of a weapon that got nerfed a lot and then really was out of play for a while and now has kind of slowly become back relevant and now very relevant? The Evo shield has a big part of it, and Hodzic kind of detailed for us why that ended up being so important in these games. So still 2 Evo shields for AHG Gaming. Weren't able to finish that off. The gold shield helps Alliance to secure a higher position. But just so many little moments in that game that I found so fascinating as well. Game 3 coming up very, very soon.
一般の人でも出れるような大会をたまにで出してくれると個人的には面白いんだけどな。
as well, continuing to perform each game. Is this looking like kind of their tournament to lose if they keep this up?
I mean, if they keep this up, I think they'll be A-okay. That's the hardest thing to do sometimes.
APEX ほどソロに向かうバトルはないけんな。ソロの大会はないけど。
well aware that they should be playing a little bit more passive, but sometimes, you know, you're like, oh man, you know, our loot kind of stinks. You know, this fight that's happening in front of us, not a bad idea maybe to take part in. But they seem like they exercised a lot of restraint in that last game. I saw the observers handed them a couple times, and they were definitely, you know, they weren't taking any crazy risks. They were just kind of holding their ground, making sure no one messes with them, and that's all they need to do. You know, anyone can still drop like a, like I said, like a 30, 25, 30-point game. But as long as they keep putting up 9, 10 points each game, which isn't terribly hard to do, they'll be just fine. It's definitely looking like it could be theirs.
All right, well, we'll find out in Game 3 as we get ready to send it back to your casters. Let's get into it.
始まるか。まだかい。この2人の会はいつまで聞くがちや。
Nasky, Strafe, and Dell currently sitting in a first place spot at GP2.
フォトナは APEX が動くときでも動かん。けど今の APEX 環境が悪すぎ。めちゃくちゃ落ちる。サーバーがやられちゃうが悪いけど。ミニガンとドラムガンのゴリ押しがね、キモすぎ。
Kind of been focusing on the guys who are in first, second, third place, and quite rightly so. I just want to quickly mention 6th and 7th place are the 2 most consistent teams for me. Alliance and Gamers Origin. We talk about these guys a lot because of consistency. They've placed themselves very, very well within the pack so far. One big kill game, along with the placement that they've had already, they could shoot up the leaderboard, and I think these 2 might be battling out for that first and second place.
そうやね、ゴールドタイムたまに1人とか2人になるで。なんなら俺今日友達とやりよって3連続で落ちたし。俺3連続で落ちたけん台湾サーバーでやりよったし。お、始まった。やっぱりジブラルタル
It's a team
ワットソ
called
ン、レイス
Wigers.
やな。
We actually have a chance to jump into a listen in some brand new technology for you guys.
カジュアル
Let's
ソ
go
ロ
ahead
も
and
あ
jump
る
into
あ
a
るよ。
listen in with Team Wigers.
あ、ラバシティや。ラバシ
Why
ティ
am I
好き
jump master?
ラバシティは人来んのにめちゃくちゃ資材なんか武器安定するよな。
I don't think people is coming Jace here. I think you can go
Yeah,
to
I
the.
don't see
Oh,
anyone.
Oh,
maybe one team coming to my compound. It
届
seems.
かなくね
Yeah, I mean they're landing close at least.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
can't even make the mountain, dude. South. Think they're coming. No, they're not. They're not. They're
終
not.
始言葉はわからん。
They're taking the ballon.
Yeah, I'm gonna
All
land
of
here.
them?
We might get a kill. I got a fucking PK, dude.
あれこいつレビアなかった
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Oh.
taking it down. Going.
レビアなかっ
I was like, maybe I get a fucking
What
longbow,
the-
you know, and get the
Yeah.
kill. But
た。そこ一人で取れるのでかくね
Kinda hard.
ばらけすぎて過疎地に敵を
And
なんか
there you
人お
have
り
it,
すぎる
some insights into Team Wigers as they're dropping. One thing you notice, obviously, in gameplay, rather than going for loot, going straight for the Pathfinder beacon and an opportunity to figure out where that next ring is
あ
going
ー
to be.
仕
That
分け
puts them
工
in a
場
good spot
か
for an early
仕分け
rotation
工場
here.
けど
You
漁
got to
服
think
けんな
actually, might have a little bit of caster's luck as Team Wigers could be in pretty well positioned to get an early game rotation here on set.
Yeah, completely agree with you. They managed to get the beacon, and
なん
the
やろ
interesting thing
う
with
まい
comms
人っ
here
てもう
that
最初から
I
武器
want
や
to
ね
kind of just break down a little bit more for people who may be looking to improve their game and looking to add that little bit of
う
extra
まい
spice
人は
to
な
their
ぜか
team.
最初
is
から
There
武
was a
器がいいよ
possibility there that there might have been a
俺
solo
降
who
り
was
て
trying to
一
take
番
that
最初に
building
見 る
as well.
べき
You
絶
heard the
対モ
comms
ザンビー
between
ク
them,
か
and they were thinking,
P2020 なん
can
で
we challenge a solo? Can we send a couple of people to this building and just get an easy kill point on the board?
もう順
That
番
might
で
seem like a really
R99
small
とか出
thing.
たことないよ
However, we've seen how close this European lobby is. One kill point, if you can pick that up early game, not only gets that point on the board for you, but also severely damages the team who could
ジブラ
potentially
ルタロが
be
おらんパーティー
alongside
や
you on the
ここ
leaderboards.
Yeah, that's spot on. Sometimes early aggression does pay off. We saw it with Red
いや
Reserve
ダ
in
メージ
game
稼げ
number
るけ
one.
ど
We've seen it
3
a
波と
lot
か
with
来られ
a lot
た
of
時とか
American
もう
teams
無
who
理
like to play aggressive and some of our European teams who like to play early on aggressive as well. But instead,
あ、わかる
they
わかる
recognize
俺
hey,
見
it's
た
not
ら
worth our
モザン
lives.
ビー
If
ク
it's
モ
an
ザンビ
easy
ーク
pick, yes, but
P20
if it's not worth
P20 と
your
かいう
lives,
時はよ
then
くある
don't make that play unnecessarily. Speaking of a
武
team
器
with
揃わん
aggression, this is the squad, Quarantine Boy, aka G Dolphin, one of the fan favorites that we're used to see playing very aggressive early on, and kind of a wild card in this tournament. They could really shake things up with their aggression and with this squad.
Yeah, I agree. Aggression, you know, it's paid off
正
for a
味
few teams so far, especially in the
P2020 は
early
また
game.
ハ
It's
ンマー
been,
ポイントがあった
you
ら
know, how
救
do
い
you
よう
quell
が
that aggression
ただ
towards
モ
the
ザンビ
mid
ーク
game,
さ
towards the
なん
end
つは
game?
もう
Sometimes
救
the
いようが
adrenaline
ない
gets pumping. You want to take as many fights as possible, but like we say a lot of the time when we're watching competitive Apex Legends, this is a
攻撃が不
marathon,
利ね
not a
攻
sprint.
撃が
And
不
you
利で
need to
大
take
会
your
は
time.
ね
You need to make sure you have that composure. But just wanted to talk about the beacon as well that we did see early on. You are going to see a
いやワッ
reinforced
トソンで
board
守ってん
sorting
のレイ
factory
スは
towards
ね
the western
もう強
center
いよ
of
ね
the map,
わか
maybe
る
just outside of the west side, excuse me, of sorting factory. So look
た
for
だ
a
野
lot
良
of
でや
teams
る
to
と
be
きにワ
moving
ットソン
towards
使
sorting
われた
factory
らワッ
and
ト
looking
ソ
for
ンの
lockdown
使い
swings
方が
there.
下手くそな人がマジでイライラする
Right now with Triumph as they're working over towards Harvester, straight to sorting factory. They of course also have the
モザ
Pathfinder
ンビークの
squad.
ハ
I
ンマー
believe
ポ
we
イン
have
ト
the
はもう
intel as to where that
無
ring
理や
is going to be
3
if they
発じゃ
do.
無理じゃん
So Harvester sorting factory type of
ワンマ
finish.
ガで
We saw
倒せ
this,
ね
I
えじゃん
believe, in game 3 or 4 of online tournament number 3, and the importance of getting the sorting factory earlier, getting in a spot that you feel comfortable with. For Triumph, it's going to be up top towards Harvester right now. As they get a little high ground, they have an opportunity to poke people that are rotating through some choke points from that high ground.
お
Of course, they
早
do have a
速
Watson
金
in
ヤ
their
ーマン
name,
は
as does
強い
every single team, with how strong of a legend Watson is, to put some fences up to make sure they don't get pushed, and to also
いや
regenerate
たまにね
shields
おるよ
with
ね
the
うま
Watson
いワットソン
ultimate.
ジブラルタルの
avoiding
野良はもう
defensive
地場
bombardment or grenades that could be thrown
野
in.
良
So
の
Triumph
ジブラル
is
タルは
positioned
もう
pretty well.
地
We saw
雷
the
し
same
か
thing
おらん
from Samsung
地雷臭
as
しか
well, as they're already positioned over towards sorting factory. Meanwhile, hopping on board with Cooler right now, they're going to pick themselves a
ワ
spot
ッ
right
ト
in
ソ
the
ンとか
bottom
たまに
left
ベテラ
corner
ンがお
of
る
sorting
けどもう
factory.
ジブラル
They
タ
feel
ル地
comfortable
雷
with
臭
one
し
of
か
these water coolers.
Yeah, I love this
Unintended.
dome building as well for this particular ring.
確
Reason
実に
being,
ドー
not
ムは
only are
自
you
分の
set
ため
up in a great
や
position
つ
as
しか
far as you know the actual ring is concerned. If it does pull away from you, you're going to be the first team out of sorting
Spider-Man
factory to be able to get a
か
new position on the map. Everyone else who's taken some
めちゃくちゃ
building or some
張るな
land, a place to set up in sorting factory that's to the east of them is going to have to rotate behind them, which means they're going to have an opportunity to get a prime position as that ring does move in.
Yeah, that's a good call out. Currently taking a
いい
quick
よな
analysis
みんな
of the game and where
顔
we're
出
at.
した瞬
19
間
squads
来るも
remain,
ん
so
な
I didn't see which squad it was, but one squad did get eliminated. It was not Nasky
わかる。レイスはマジで上手い人ばっかり。オクタンの野良は本当に地雷。わーって一人でいて、一人でわーって CP。 でバーって抜けていくけん、そのまま流れるような作業していくけん、あいつら。
Samsung was trying to hit on a rotation may have not paid off just yet as one is knocked.
Yeah, one does get knocked, but that's not going to be the end of the world. I haven't seen the finish come in, but there it is. The finish does actually come in.
で、野良のライフラインは絶対に仕掛けん、ドロー
which is
ン。
not what you want to do early game.
自分ダメージ食ろうってなったら絶対に仕掛けん。
Even tougher. But at the moment, I just want to talk about kind of the mid game in Apex Legends. A lot of people will be watching thinking, you know, players aren't fighting, they're just sitting about at the moment. This for me is arguably the most important part of competitive Apex. This is where your decisions that are going to essentially map out the rest of your game, your final position, where you are going to take your fights happen. This is where the communications between the members of the team are vital. This is where knowledge of rotations is to essentially map out the rest of your game, your final position, where you are going to take your fights happen. This is where the communications between the members of the team are vital. This is where knowledge of rotations is vital. And this is where knowledge of where potential end circles is so important as well. If you don't have that and you're not having these conversations right now, you're going to find yourself so far behind in the game.
Yeah, that's a good point. And actually, that's what separates some of the top teams and lesser teams. You know, you see TSM, one of the best mid-game teams in terms of their early rotations, and that's really
2人以上友達がおる人しかしたらいかん。野良でやるものじゃないこのゲーム。
Ultimately, his beacon, his ability to find the late game circle or ring for any newer players. Hit that beacon early on. Don't forget to do that because that's so crucial for your team.
言いつつ PC の友達2人しかおらんけんなかなか揃わないけど。
Challenge you a little bit on set. I mean, mid game is crucial. Yes, it's good to get positioning. If you don't get that positioning, it puts you in a bad spot for late game. But you have teams that play so incredibly well in the late game and know how to position themselves perfectly. You know, the clutch moments of the late game is what I live for. It's easy to argue both sides, mid game versus late game. What's more important?
Yeah, for sure, and I think a lot of it comes down to composition as well. If you're seeing teams who are running that Gibraltar, you have the option to rotate in late, right? You have that artificial cover in the bubble, and you can play edge of circle. You can take your time a little bit more. And I still think it's maybe a less consistent way to play the game as far as placement is concerned. However, playing edge of circle with that Gibraltar with the arm shield as well, you're going to have a little bit of an advantage in fights. So you've got a little bit extra HP to work with. So although you might be sacrificing some placement points and early rotation, you can make that up in kill points.
だいぶみんなレ
Good call. And of course, as we're talking about the kind of late game, people that kind of hug the edge of the ring, we're going to switch over to SGAP2, our number 2 team right now, playing with the Gibraltar and showcasing how that ring or edge circle type of game works as well. But again, if it comes down to your team comp, B100, same exact thing. So some good work by our observers here to kind of give a prime example of understand your team comp, KYP. Know your personnel is a common term used in sports. And based on your team comp, adjust your play style.
クロスプレイ対応しとったらそんなのに
rotate early,
できた
get
ろう
in a
けど
good position. But if you're playing with the Gibraltar, don't be afraid to play the edge and try and play for kills and use that artificial cover from the dome shield from Gibraltar to make rotations.
So I'm going to see a little bit of posturing for position on the map at the moment, and as you see, no Pathfinder on this team B100, so they're going to be kind of playing off of some other teams, maybe looking for teams who are running that Pathfinder and trying to shadow them into the circle, because they're going to be the players who have the advanced knowledge of where that rotation is going to be, where that next circle is going to be. So that's always an option, and also popping the Evo shield on your Gibraltar is something that I always love. You have that extra HP, like I mentioned on the arm shield. Hodzik mentioned it as well. We've all talked about the changes to the Evo shield and how much easier it is in order to increase those levels on it. So put it on your Gibraltar, get those shots in, stay alive, take your time, get that shield up.
Exactly right. Gibraltar does have the ability to kind of earlier on, thanks to the additional shield armor he does get with his passive. As of course, as I say that, he's gonna try and go for some shots to get tagged up a bit here. They are currently gatekeeping. I think it's SJP2 that was rotating right behind them. So we have a Gibraltar team comp versus a Gibraltar team comp with B100 versus SJP2. And a fight is undoubtedly gonna break out here. Neither team is in the next ring.
するときに動けるのができるんだよな、キーマン。
As a good first shot's gonna come through with the Peacekeeper from 3. Can he connect for the second? Looks like his teammates can do the work instead.
いや、弾が足りてない。
Chases that Wraith, goes for a second, gonna connect for some great damage. Is free, but finally gets tagged up. Now it's gonna be teammates to close this one out when the dust settles. It looks like the B100 squad will come out on top with an elimination over a team wipe over SJP2, our second place team in this one. Huge kills coming in from B100.
Yeah, huge kills, and that's going to have a huge impact on the leaderboard as well. These guys were holding down one of the top spots, SJP2, after that win in the last game. So B100, I was looking across their weaponry as that bubble fight was about to break out. As the engagement was to happen around that building, I just saw Peacekeepers left, right, and center. So Peacekeepers in that position, fantastic for them. They're more than happy to take that fight with that up close.
最近99より301持つんだよな。
Especially because they got the slight advantage and slight tick on rotating early, and they kind of just were able to gatekeep
and wait for the SJP2 squad to push them. When you're on the defensive, especially with the Gibraltar on your team, you're able to get some early shots in, catch them off guard. But ultimately, it just came down to hitting shots with that Peacekeeper, like you said, on set. Freed with some brilliant shots with that PK, connected for 110, and finishing the Wraith as the Wraith did into the Void out or Q out of that fight. Now we're jumping on board with Red Reserve, a team we watched in Game 1 play incredibly aggressive early on. Now they're currently posted up in Harvester, playing with the Gibraltar, using that ultimate of the Watson to gain some shield back. They noticed their team, though, looks like they want the fight. Yes, they do. They see Red, and they are flying right now.
全部でね、エイムが安定してね、当てやすいけど。強いは強い。
The first game that we had the opportunity to watch Red Reserve, they wanted to take fights if they thought that they had an advantageous position. But one position they do have that's advantageous at the moment is this position within Harvest. Unfortunately, as we can see now on the Pathfinder Beacon, it's not going to pull. But if that was going to pull towards Harvester and we didn't have that information, they would be in a prime position. But now, as you can see, they're going to have to relocate towards Sorting Factory, towards the higher ground to the west of the marshy area belowhand. So they've got some work to do here, and they're going to have to make a pretty quick rotation.
That is true. And while you're talking about some teams at Harvester in the west, look at this. G-Dolphin and co are rotating on the far east side of the map, and I don't know if they have some intel or what, but they recognize that they have a rotation for free. No one is on that side of the map. So they're just going to swing all the way to the bottom southeast of the ring and try to find some real state or location to do exactly that. Meanwhile, onboard Weigers are ready positioned again with that Pathfinder in Sorting Factory. They're in the next ring. They're in a good position here. But there's at least 4 or 5 teams around them already set up as well.
This is where I think every single team is going to be crossing their fingers and looking to the heavens that they get that pull, because there's teams who are set up at the moment within Sorting Factory, and they're kind of hoping that it's going to pull towards them. But there's teams also that are a little bit more northern on the map who might be thinking, are we going to get the pull here? Because this next pull is so vital to the game. If it pulls to the west of the map, every single team who is in Sorting Factory is going to have to move up. That means engagement.
いやけどこの前アクスター敵に刺したらそのまま近づいてこられて死んだんだよな一瞬。
Which we love to see. I know every viewer watching right now, same thing. Those edge circle kind of ring engagements that drop the teams from 18 to 10 in the blink of an eye are fun to watch for sure. As we're continuing this storyline with B100 and teams that play the edge. You know, usually those teams will end up in some sort of fight and rotation. We're currently on a choke point right now, so they're just trying to scout out rotation. We're currently on a choke point right now, so they're just trying to scout out, see if they can find any other teams, much like they did with SJP2. Not going to find anyone over there just yet, but smart decision just to peek and check. They now know that's clear. They're going to rotate back to their side of the map.
Yeah, and just a note on B100, this isn't a team that particularly scrims either. So this is kind of a team that has been playing together, obviously grinding ranked, but they haven't been involved in a lot of competitive scrims. So for them to be performing at such a higher level within this final speaks volumes about them, and this could certainly be a team to watch should they put in a big performance today.
Yeah, that's a good call. Currently, B100 is sitting in last place right now in the overall point standings, but they did pick up 3 kills right there. They're looking to pop off here. But, you know, that's the slight advantage they have. If you're not playing against a lot of teams, other teams certainly know how you play. You can catch people off guard. They're one of those teams that shake up the meta and shake up the landing spots quite a bit when they make it to the finals. They've made it to the finals a few times now. I know in watching them. So we'll see what they can do on this rotation here. They're going to be in ring right now. Meanwhile, jumping on board with a team that is familiar to the scrim side of the world, it's Samsung. Samsung Morningstar is currently in one of the trailers and positioned quite towards center circle in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I was going to say this is a great position, but then unfortunately we mentioned the first player to go down in the entire fight, in the entire game I should say, was Nissa on Samsung. So the problem with that, he's their Watson player. So it's all great to be in a great position to set a map, but if you don't have that Watson generator to take those grenades, to get those fences up, it's going to be a straight fight. And to be honest with you, with their positioning, I can't see Samsung surviving too much unless they pull out something miraculous when that ring closes.
Typically, you'll know there's no Watson there because you don't see fences. So as soon as you see no fences, you let it rip with grenades. And especially with those 2 windows, they're quite vulnerable with those grenades. It looks like a push is actually going to happen. Meanwhile, Triumph and Co put some good shots across map, trying to just poke and be annoying. So that actually might be Samsung's best friend because they're putting so much damage into the aggressive team. As I say that, Lemix can go down all up to Casper. Let's see what Casper can do right now in this situation. Casper is not in the best position.
Yeah, and I think as soon as teams realized that they didn't have a Watson in that position, that they were going to push. They realized how important that position is, and now we're going to jump on board with Ad Hoc Gaming as Zipeth is trying his best to just push some players back with the scout, and it looks like this is the other position that they like to play. Again, edge of circle here for AHG, taking the high ground side of the map though, so they're in a pretty good spot here.
いや俺モハ持ち一回もしたことない。左手しかして。
Kuya from Kababrila replacing Zerifer from this squad in the last tournament. We all know Kababrila performed very well in tournament 2 and 3, a very high skill, high mechanical skill team, and a lot of that was thanks to Kuya. So a great pickup for Ad Hoc Gaming, and they're doing solid so far in this tournament.
シーズン1以降
Sitting
面
in
白く
top
なっ
10 and
た
ninth place with 13 points.
なんか
But
楽し
keep in
く
mind,
な
there's
くな
only
った
like 4 or 5 points
プレステ 4
that separate all the way up to second place with SJP2 at 18. They're already out. So one pop-off game from Ad Hoc Gaming or anyone to make the difference here. And as I say that, speaking of a pop-off, Nasky, Strafe, and Dell getting pushed from a team on the low ground. They're going to hold that off and withstand, at least for now. Now without casualty, it looks like Nasky was tagged up a bit. Navi goes down.
左で言うと右のスティックであさって左のスティックで移動ができる状況であされたりするようやったらもうちょっと強いがいいけど
That truck was from Matafe. Now they have, in my opinion,
そういう仕様にしてくれたらちょっとは多分あさりながら戦いやすい相
This
手
could be a really big game here for Ad Hoc Gaming if they can just close out these last moments.
Yeah, it's a great call out. And look at that. Look at the ring. Of the ring, there's maybe 3 buildings, all open lands. There's not going to be a lot of
さあ
cover.
この位
This
置
is
は
where
きつい
Gibraltar
上
really
からも
shines
こ
in
こ
late
からも狙
games
われておりま
with the
す
artificial cover, with the bubble, and then of course with
きつい
defensive bombardment when the ring is so
この人
small,
一
you
人じゃん
do a lot of damage and force teams into your hand.
無理だ
We'll see how the Gibraltar plays.
今のはナイルや
As
つ
I
だ
say that, looks like the last member Caspier of Samsung gets taken out on board of 9its. He's going to get revived back to full 125 Evo shield, fully leveled up. Claws and Faizu with some solid shield as well. Navi in a pretty decent position here with their backs against the wall, and that's actually a benefit now because any team that's going to drop is going to have to drop in front of them, minus that zip line right next to them.
Yeah, they're going to have to drop on them. They're going to be dropping into a lot of Watson fences as well, and those interception pylons are going to make it a pretty difficult position to be in. Certainly not one that I wouldn't want to find myself in if I was involved in this game. So, yeah, Na'Vi set up in a pretty good position here. You can see they've got zone, they've got cover above them, they've got the Watson ult down as well to stop any grenades that are going to fall in. Na'Vi in a fantastic position, but Alliance, the team that I mentioned, again, making it towards the end game, making it towards the final circle, but with 16 squads remaining, this could be an opportunity for them to maybe
あさりながらの戦いがベスト4でできるようにならんか
Sitting on top of one of the more favorable rocks, but one member is tagged up. That's going to be Mady. Some way, somehow, using some shield cells one by one, as it looks like they're
まあ
out
ちょ
of
っと
shield
慣れ
batteries.
に
They've taken a lot of
慣れ
damage
るが
throughout.
時
So
間
that
が
early
必要
game
やろ
or
うけ
mid game poke will do. Oxbow taking up Hyarka of Red Reserve. And back to Ad Hoc Gaming, who we mentioned earlier, in a great position in this trailer, and that's going to actually stay true here, as they're able to put great shots on Navi cross map. This is the team we mentioned
い
having
や
back
こ
against
こ
the
あん
wall
まり
was
す
good.
ぎな
But with cover to their advantage, Zipf and Co. of AHG can put some massive damage into Alliance and Navi.
さあ第5
Yeah,
アン
and
チで
the
まだ
big thing
14
here
人
that Zip's doing,
残り
he's
すぎ
making
なん
sure
だ
he's
よ
destroying generators. That means other teams can get naded out. That encourages other teams to push other teams because they see the generator has been taken down. They don't have the regenerative ability on the shield.
普通
They
の
don't
カ
have
ジュア
those
ル第
grenades
5 ア
that
ン
are
チ
going
ま
to
で
get
いかんで
eaten
も
up.
もう
So
チャンピオン決
even
ま
though
る
they're not picking up KP here, what they are
ひどい
doing
時
is
は
denying so many teams the ability to push in.
チーターおる試合とかあるけどなチーターおる試合とかマジ第2アンチでもはや6パッシャーもらってとかあるけど
The addition of Oxbow now that we are on screen with in a good position. They actually have complete
Cheetah
control
4人に
of
渡し
all the cover here. Look how spread out they are, which is a good thing in this scenario, and they're easily able to get to each other if they want to. Fights going on over with NWR on the other side of the map, as teams are recognizing they're going to have to rotate here soon. Using the portal to get away momentarily,
セン
trying to
チ
get
ネ
right
ル
back
ア
into
サ
the
ルト
fight.
みたいに
His
打ち
noises.
たし
And as these teams are rotating from Sorting Factory, we know there were at least 3 or 4 teams up there on the rotation. It looks like 1 or 2 will survive. Gamers Origin being one of them, picking up kills on Nasty, Strafe, and Dell.
いやまあまあ
Yeah, Gamers Origin Alliance, they were the 2 teams that I mentioned before this game. If they have a pop-off game, or even just a, for Europe, I would call it a pop-off game as far as kill points is concerned.
その動きながらの焦り
They
強い
could be the 2 teams that are in contention, I should say, before the end of this game. But we're seeing big, massive shots coming in left, right, and center here from NWR, and that is going to be a clean wipe. Kill points on the board for them, and they
マスティフが19しか入らない
Huge
これは
play
き
from
つい
Noises, but another team is going to rotate through on the
これ
third
は
party.
もうしょう
And
がない
Noises, who just did so much work, is going to get caught off guard. It looks like his teammate InStyle is the last remaining. He's in a world of hurt. He gets taken out as well. And just like that, NWR, who made such a huge
マスティ
play,
フ
just get
19
third
しか
party
入らん
and
よ
taken
泣
out
く
early
な
on. Smart play right there. I think it was from Fex and team name, aka G Dolphin Squad, that rotates
高
in
級
late,
もんだろ
and they're going to end up on top of the top side high ground. Go
音が消える
Humpe is going to get taken out early as well. Here comes the rotation.
Oh, I'm not sure if he went
い
to
やもう
drop
立
there
ち
or
回
if
り
he
が
was just
す
trying to be
げえ
aggressive.
う
The
めえ
zone obviously is coming in, but he just dropped into a
い
world
や
of
ーそ
hurt.
れは
Now
しょう
we're
が
just
ない
going to see
射
Battle
線
going down
That's,
on the edge of zone consistently. Gamers Origin in all sorts of problems here, and they will be taken down.
Yeah,
That's
no,
so
that rotation is just tough. They waited till last second, and again, we mentioned earlier, but it's a
大会
wide
見よう
open
ぜ
no man's
めちゃく
land
ちゃ強
in
え
this
みんな
final ring. Not only this final ring, but
さすがや
the last 2 rings at that. Kuya picking up an elimination as well on the top right of your screen. So it looks like Myth continues to be
課題しながら見
well-positioned
たいです
in
ね、
this
今
one.
後。
With the addition of Kuya to this AHG squad, also with a good rotation, they're still alive. I did see a member of Nasky, Strafe, and Dell was ratting and alive as well. 6 squads remaining in this one, but there might be a few rats or solo players still trying to hide and survive towards that top 3, top 4 finish.
Yeah, Myth can be the last team to engage here if they want to.
この
They
家
can
取
play
っちゃう
towards
方が
end
強い
circle.
な。
They're the
こ
last
の人ら
team
多分。
essentially with any
だけど、い
natural
や
cover as
次
far
のア
as
ンチほ
building
ぼ
is
遮蔽物
concerned.
なしじゃん。
And the thing is here for them, they need to try and pick up free KP because teams are going to be rotating in weak. They're going to be having to rotate having just had a fight. This is free potential points. If they want to poke out and put those shots in, they can also back up, take their time to use the Watson Gen to get those shields back as well. So they're in a prime position to potentially win this game.
Yep, no one could possibly come behind them. And like you said, they could be the last one to rotate if they do want to. Dead inside, Stanny and Go also alive in this one. And Nasky, Strafe, and Del, we know is one team that was alive. Gamers Origin did get eliminated moments ago. Myth, of course, on screen right now. So those are at least a few of the teams that are
いや、
still
こ
open.
の人もう無理だろ。アーマーでレース1人は無理だろ。
One member of Alliance still up as well. So we mentioned they need to go big with a top finish in this late game. And Hockey's just wants to try and survive. We saw the feature profile on him earlier. It was brilliant. Former member of the army in this country. He said leadership obviously shows true. We'll see what he can do now with this back against the wall. Last member alive for a squad. Here comes rotation from Myth.
青アーマーレース1人はもうこの環境生き残れん。
Wants to get some big points on the board for his team, although he did find a cheeky little rat spot to maybe just wait for these teams to engage and push up. But now this is where the action really starts to pip up. We're seeing teams engaging left, right, and center. It looks like HG are going to be losing players. Kodoli goes down as well. 4 squads remaining now, John.
Here it is. It looks like Myth spots one squad, recognizes let's take this fight on this one team. You see a kill leader erupt as well. 3 squads remain. It looks like 3 members from Stanny and Co, which is dead inside, going up against 3 members of Myth. The last rat's going to get taken out. It's Matafe. 3 versus 3 fight to close this one out between these 2 teams. It looks like they're just going to be trading shots and a bit of a standoff here on set.
Yeah, and you can see it because of the natural cover. That rock is kind of the dividing line between the 2 teams. But here we go. The push is now coming in, John.
ラストか。ラスト 1v1 か。
From Stanny, the last member alive. He can use his teammate shield to his advantage. Trying to pop that shield battery. Yes, he will. It's a 1 versus 1. Amaz from Myth going up against Stanny, and the use of his teammate shield is so crucial here. As Amaz with only 2 shields left to his name is going to push with an R99. He gets taken out just like that. Stanny is going to clutch up when it matters the most.
いや、ラストあっからあそこまで削られて勝っていくのが強いな。
Yeah, amazing finish to that game. I thought for a second, you know, you've got the gold shield. Although you've done damage, pop a cell. Give yourself that extra second. You can get that little extra bit of armor to maybe have won that fight. Maybe that's a fight he would keep composure in those 1v1 situations. We know how hectic comps get, right? We know how hectic endgames get. Adrenaline's pumping in your veins, but to come out with a 1v1 win and get the plaudits of your teammates is the best feeling in the world. So a huge congratulations. Huge win on the board.
Massive plays from Stanny. You're right.
R99 はね、今来てるシーズンパスのやつがね、アイアンサイトがほほど見やすい。普通に当倍ついちゃう。
Opting to push with the R99 wide right, opting for aggression, and ended up costing him as Stanny did come out with the fight and with the win. These have been some of the most entertaining late games or end games. We've seen a 1 versus 2 clutch. We saw a 1 versus 1 clutch. Does not get better than this onset.
No, absolutely. We love end games in Apex Legends. That's what we live for. It's all about the posturing for those final moments that give us the excitement that we absolutely love. And yeah, 1v1 seems to be the special on the menu today, John. And yeah, I'm enjoying every moment of it.
Yeah, as opposed to these absolutely insane or manic late games where there's like 40 people live in the ring. We get an intense 1 versus 1. I will take that. I'm a big fan of that as a caster. Hope you guys are all enjoying it as well. Thank you all so much for tuning in and supporting the growth of competitive Apex. Man, what a day it's been. The content has proved true. And Hotsix said it earlier, but Apex, unlike any other BR, one of the most aggressive BRs in a lot of early game fights that you see early on. A lot of early game aggression. And it showed true in a lot of these games. Of course, towards the late game, which we're really only ending up with 1 or 2 teams or players alive. In the end right there, it was Stanny from Dead Inside going up against Amaz from Myth. A big performance for Myth. The squad that we keep talking about has been the only team in Europe to qualify for every single online tournament. Even teams like Gambit, Alliance, who have won online tournaments, have failed to do so in an online tournament after that. Myth is playing consistently. A 2nd place finish from them puts them in a good spot. I'm interested to see how that shakes up the leaderboards here on set.
Yeah, I agree. And not only was it a second place finish, but we saw that kill leader pop up on one of their players as well. So that means that they've got multiple kill points on the board as well. So we were talking about and listening into, Bravo and Jameson talking about how vital, especially in Europe, having one game where you put up a big kill point performance, that could be the difference between coming in 8th to 1st or 2nd. So the fact that they've just managed to put that together and that second place finish with so many KP, if they can get a solid finish in these in the forthcoming games, then they're going to have a real opportunity here to not only say we're the team that qualified for every single final, but we've won one as well.
Yeah, that's a good call out. Before there, in case you're wondering, Dead Inside was in 10th place with 11 points, but keep in mind, only 7 points separated them from the number 2 team with 18 points. They're, of course, behind Nasky, Strafe, and Dell with 27 points. So at least 7 or 8 kills right there in a first place finish is going to help Dead Inside skyrocket, I think, into a top 2 or top 3 finish. And we talked about that point with Bravo and Jamerson around a lot of our top teams. Where's Alliance's top 3 finish in high kill game? Maybe Gamers Origin. Instead, it's been a lot of our kind of lesser discussed, lesser known teams that have really popped off in the kills category and placement. Nasky, Strafe, Dell, Dead Inside, picking up a win on their end. So a good start so far from our kind of free agent or our unsigned teams that are really trying to make a name for themselves. And that goes to show how great this format is, this online tournament format. Any of you watching at home could sign up for an online tournament, can qualify for the finals, and we're seeing that on the EU side of things. I'm really interested to see on North American side. I know we're going to be seeing the same exact thing as well. So things are getting shaken up in quite a significant way right now. An awesome game number 3. We have 2 games left in this one, but before we jump to game 4, we got to throw it back to our analysts. It's Hodsick and Rain Day to break down the action.
All right, thank you so much, fellas. Great cast on air. And, of course, everybody's been killing it, production and all the crew. Of course, we've got to say a big shout-out to everybody involved. Just takes a lot, especially the players as well. A lot of time goes into getting these tournaments right, but we've got a great opportunity to talk about some fantastic finishes in Apex Legends Competitive. And Hodsick, man, that one was one of the more exciting ones as well. It seems like Onset said, on the menu is the special 1v1s. And again, we saw a very tight-knit finish between these 2 teams going back at it. Gold shield, purple shield, and actually taking the win.
Yeah, I believe the Wraithon Myth with the gold, I forget the name at this
Amaz,
second.
I believe.
Yeah, Amaz. I believe he he had the opportunity to heal, but I think he wanted to capitalize on the damage that he did to him. So he tried to do a little bit of cheeky push. It's tough. I mean, there's a lot of emotions, a lot of adrenaline in these late game circles. You might not be playing always your best game or have the best judge of the situation. Right. It's a lot easier for us to just sit here and watch it happen, but those players, their heart rates are probably at like 200
Yeah, if they had Albert Lilly's heart rate monitor on stream, I'm sure it would just be taking up the entire image right there. That thing must have been an absolute difficulty to manage, especially when your team is watching you fight that 1v1. Both players on both teams actually still looking, and only a few participating actually, and that was one of the big differences between why I believe Dead Inside was able to capitalize on this. A nice rotation as well. A lot of シールド使うのうめえよな。使い方が。声真似できる声真似がない。Coming in 7th with 39 points. And Ad Hoc Gaming, who was the 3rd alive there, Matafe dying before that 1v1 took place, was tied with Myth at 44, tied for 5th and 6th.
いやー、パスファインダーとレイスとワッタソン、攻撃型すぎる。
Contested as far as skill, as far as the way that they're playing the game. It seemed to be Dead Inside who actually would take the win this time, though. So really good performance from them, and I think moving forward into Game 4 brings up a lot of discussion. How much will they move up?
先般マンも10万戻ったら5万課金したら確定で手に入るらしいけん、それで交代。
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was saying. It's kind of like, as long as Nasky's team, which was the only team that had really a sizable lead at the top, as long as they keep putting up points, they'll be good. I believe
ただお前らの場合、今手に入ったとしても PC に移行した途端、それ全部なくなるけん。
It might not prove to be enough, but that's what I was saying. I mean, it's anyone's game. Dead Inside was only, what was it, 16 points off first, which you just need one decent win. And look, they got 21 in that one game right there. It's really anyone's game at this point. The top 10 is so close.
Nasky, Strafe, Dell, got to keep track of our leaders as well. They're taking 4 points off of that, which is better than a sharp stick in the eye, as my mom always says. I think they'll be happy to at least be moving positively. Gaming finally get
PS4 でガチリだ。60 FPS じゃ限界が来るて。
which you ended up seeing. That was where we're seeing G Dolphin today playing as well under Quarantine Boy, I still believe, getting fourth, and X Crow Crowd with that fantastic ending as well. Part of that whole dynamic that we saw with SJP2 ended up being 7 points to their name. But it's really about Myth. It's really about Dead Inside here, who clean it up with 10 kills and 9 kills respectively, and 19 and 21 points, which is going to put them at number 1 and number 2 in the tournament. Nasky strafed out with those 4 points, jump up above Ad Hoc Gaming, and X Crow Crowd stays solid in the 5th position. But wow,
さすがに500匹切らんとコンとかはない。
top 2 spots so far after game 3.
あ、ドグマさん来た。
Just look at that leaderboard. The top 6 is a 10-point difference, tie between first and second. It's like I said,
Apex 大会面白いな。フォートナイトより見るが面白いかもしれない。
It really is anyone's game. It's crazy how like I think Europe as like a region in terms of Apex has so many really good teams. You know, I do think, for example, like the North American region, I think has a lot of really like the teams at the top are like really good, and then they're kind of a lot better.
フォートナイトより Apex の方が面白いなやっぱ。
But in Europe, the skill is very.
個人的にはレインボー6をまた押すけど。
And you're seeing that here. I mean, just look how close the standings are. It's seriously anyone's game.
ていうかもうすぐしたらバロラントが出るけんそれも押すけど。バロラントやりてえ。バロラントベータテスト出たらしいけどめんどくせえ。
Basically round 4, and it's only between 2 teams, where you might see that in North America, where it's Liquid and it's TSM at, you know, looking at last week, who are really in contest to maybe take the spot, and no one else is really in the conversation. You look at right here, we do have a very contested game 4 and game 5 that will be deciding whether these teams win the first place prize.
CSGO をやったことない人がバロラント急にやったら多分エイムが当たらん。
strong performances from them. I want to talk a little bit about some of these moments throughout the game as we take a look at the highlights that have kind of come through in game number 3 of the ALGS Online number 4 for Europe. But I want to mention, what have you been seeing weapon-wise? I've seen a ton of Havoc with Rangers. I've seen obviously a ton of Evo Shields.
何このウィングマン 100% 当てる。
That's a surprise. I mean, I'm not in terms of like me thinking the weapon's not that great. I actually think it's so slept on. But I know that a lot of the times, like maybe some of the things I think in terms of weapon balance, a lot of the other pros don't think so. I know there are some pros that love the Evo, but it's a very slept-on weapon. I just think it's kind of awkward to use. But the amount of damage, assuming you put out like
いや、バロラントは多分 PC 限定やと思う。
the amount of damage
CSGO が出てないところに見る感じ。多分
I think
バ
it's a
ロラン
really
ト
good
は
weapon for like a
PC 限定や
Watson,
ない
for
か。
example, someone who's technically on paper supposed to be like the third person into the fight. You know, you push a team that is fighting like your Wraith or your Jibby, and then you're kind of just in the background, just pumping out Eva
スマ
shots
ホ版もある。
with a purple bolt too. It's such a deadly weapon. And it's very choke friendly in terms of you know, if you miss Peacekeeper shots, what you have like another second until your next one. That's a lot of downtime. That's very easy for them to trade
わかる。
free damage on
こ
you.
の人ら
and then you
M
get
アシスト
nothing
つい
out
て
of it.
ないらしい
So,
ぜ PC だから。
I think it's a really
よくで
slept
き
on
るよう
weapon,
だ
and I'm
ここ
very
まで。
surprised that a lot of the players are using it, but I'm glad that they're picking up on just how strong it actually is.
I mean, not everybody can hit those 1v2s. Not everyone can pull a Stanny or, you know, an Amaz and really carry those moments in the final seconds. You may need to, you know, whiff a few shots if you're like us, but of course, you're not like us. You're watching this game. You're learning from some pro analysts here like Hot Six. So thank you everybody for being involved. We are going to get straight into game 4. Make sure you follow at Play Apex for our socials to stay tuned with everything going on at ALGS and all of our announcements. But without further ado, let's hop into it, guys. Game 4 coming up. Let's see who takes first place
さっきの
after
俺
this
の
one.
パッと久々につついたツイッターに投稿しちゃったやつを見てもらえばわかるけど、そんなに吸いつかんかったぞ。
Bravo and Jamerson here, ready to call the action once again. And Jamerson, we got a new top 3 here. It's kind of a repeat of the last tournament because Nasky strafed Dell as they led after 2 games. They now find themselves in 3rd, and now it's Dead Inside and
CSGO はスマホ版があるか。
Yeah, one huge thing we really do have to point out is how similar the point distribution is looking like so far to online tournament 3, where amongst the top 4, there was only a split of about 6 points this time around amongst our top 5 after 3 games. There's only a split of 5, and so it's still very competitive amongst the top 4.
さっきの最後残っちゃった人みたいにシールドで目の前立たれたらもうじゃあアウトや。
number 4, game number 4. Only 2 left in the European finals as we're going to get ready to drop into this match in just a moment. Might even have some more team comms coming in just a moment. We'll see if that is the case, but getting ready to drop into the map now. And of course, who else but to start things off with what we just saw in a
めちゃくちゃ短時間でできそうな、なんか小腹だけを癒すための栄養のない、うんこが全部コーンになるタイプの食べ物。
Dude, imagine if I fall down the mountain now.
All 3 of us falling. Oh my god, could you imagine? Oh no, no, no. Where's train? East fragment.
ドームをワンパしか降りんって、ワンパだけで制圧できるのは強い。
Alright, and great to hear the GSD side, excuse me, the Dead Inside squad off of the drop. Of course, lots of teams still to look for here, Jamerson, and it seems to be the case. Even though we talk about 5 games, consistency is so key. Going into games 4, it always feels like we do have really an open-ended ending of these tournaments because I think this might even be the strongest case. We're finally starting to see some teams start to pull up a little bit more high kill wins. You and I were just talking about Dead Inside with a 9-kill win there, Myth with a 10-kill second, then Ad Hoc with a 7-kill third. So we're finally starting to see the kills stack a little bit more towards the top 3 finishers.
Yeah, if you really do want to try and close it out, especially with how heated the top 4 are, we have to take a look at North America and how that fared out for Team Liquid to take their victory. They had 2 second-place finishes with 10 kills in a row. That's the kind of scoring you need if you really do want to walk away with a victory here. That's what they were able to accomplish during their run in the last online tournament. So I'm looking for other teams to try and find these early-game rotation frags, try to find isolated kills on the outside. But again, over here at Refinery, it's going to be Red Reserve running into another team.
Absolutely, Red Reserve, like you said, already finding a little bit of resistance there. As we take a look at Refinery, we see Red Reserve had been dropping Refinery in scrims, and actually in scrims, by the way, shout out to EMEF for all the great notes on what we're seeing in EU scrims. We actually did not have any other teams that were listed as Refinery drops in scrims, so interesting now they are actually running into the side of team name, and that's their path. Excuse me, that's your Badoli G Dolphin Dex team. They're kind of on our list as this aggressive team that really great at the game, but of course has not been together for a long time. So they're one of the many wild cards in these drops.
They're at the very least at this point 2 out of 4 taking this fight over at Refinery up against Red Reserve. I believe it was in game number 2 where we also saw them fight here, and they were not able to win that out. It was Red Reserve who ended up really bullying them out, and this was a discussion that we had before game number 1 where a lot of teams, of course, game number 1, that's going to set the pace, but it looks like neither team really giving up this spot, and they're going to continue to take this 50-50.
Absolutely, and like we said, several teams, team name being one of those teams that is more reactive based on where they're seeing other teams, so surprising to see them take Refinery when it was, seemed to be a little bit of an established drop for Red Reserves in the past few weeks. Now, as we see teams still all over, of course, we got still 2 teams at Skyhook, your Fisher team, by typically at gaming over at Fisher, also teams still at Drill, Train, etc., having to make their long way down to this. We also just got a beacon here, things looking like Lava City in ALGS play, and I would say competitive days like say period. Very familiar with a lot of these Lava City endings, sometimes ending out in the track, sometimes ending in the back corner. We'll have to see exactly where teams decide to hold up at the same time. Morningstar is going to be one of your teams that wants to get into these Lava City buildings early.
At the very least, control of the roof is probably what you are looking for here, especially amongst these taller buildings. When the teams are coming in for rotations, if you have those long-range weapons like the Scout that Levic does have right now, you can try and use that to get some kills, but it looks like the team already has the roof here. We're seeing the rotation now coming out from Weigers, and I actually like the idea of holding out on the outskirts here, especially if you are a Pathfinder team controlling this Pathfinder beacon building here. And so I want to see Weigers hold position for now. They do have a port set up to just try and get some extra items on over from that truck. And so they're going to be able to port over an extra shield for them to use.
Absolutely. Teams here, of course, are going to be very happy to have these Lava City North buildings as well. Some teams going to prefer that back corner if they can get there.
プロゲーマーはマジもうどこでも登れるぞこいつら多分壁。
I believe it's the DPP.
It is the DPP. Sorry, it is the DPP. The deep pocket principle. God, you're so right.
The only way, okay, so like my mnemonic for like remembering that is weird because it's like I think of DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, right? the old days of the diamond cutter, and then I just changed it up with the extra piece.
Hodzic should give me a hard time later.
I'm going to give you a hard time right now.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I deserve it. The DPP, I will not forget it.
ほら、この人が持っちゃう R99 のこのスキン。
looking to get into the furthest corner
シーズン
so
の
that
や
their
つ。こ
rear
れめ
is
ちゃくちゃ
safe.
見やすい。
There's an
ほ
argument
ら、
that if
これ
you're not sure where to
こ
hold
れ
or
マ
if
ジで
you
見やすい。
get an early hold,
ア
that
イ
you
アンサイ
hold
ト
the
でこれは
furthest
マジ
corner
で見やすい。
of an end circle, and that's going to be, of course, ample opportunities for those in terms of those back
この
corner
スキンまあ
Lava
まあ
City buildings. Now
優
also
秀。
taking a look at Triumph, they're making a way
R99。
all the way across east, essentially to head across these tracks to get into this Lava City. But as we saw, areas of Lava City North, Dome, and then all this area, they know they're going to run into some traffic here, so they need to be very careful with how they engage. Keep in mind, as a path team too, they need to play this pretty carefully.
Yeah, but there's still that kind of effect of just a standoff, right? If you do try to poke a little bit too much or you peek out too much, then all of a sudden you're the one that's getting shot at from another team that's just on the outskirts as well. And so a lot of the times teams are kind of rewarded for taking these bold moves, these bold kind of rotations where...
Yeah. Absolutely. Speaking of, I was going to say, speaking of, a bold zip all the way to top dome as well, as we take a look here at the EXE side. Still here in this tunnel north of sorting and haven't made the move just yet over on in.
全体的にみんなアーマーがいいんだよな。白アーマーのやつとかみんないいけど、さっきから。あ、おったわ。言った瞬間おったわ。
Be able to vulture that up, and that's one of the strengths of being able to play as an edge team, right? Maybe on your initial drop you weren't able to get quite the loot that you want, but because you are playing edge, maybe not as many teams rotating in from your side, it's relatively safe for you to slowly walk in and pick up whatever cursory loot that you can find here. Cooler is going to use that portal. Luckily, he was able to put that down. They'll be able to get the res off, hopefully, but as we swap over to mid.
My goodness, somehow, as we just saw the Cooler side, the Wraith able to get through, able to loot, and gets down, but able to get back through the port as well. Thought they might be able to loot for just a second on that gold box, and to be honest, with the position they had, they certainly had the time to spend that portal on that. My goodness, fast down. That tells you the state of affairs, Jamerson, in Lava City right now. If you drop for a moment, you are going to get melted from multiple angles.
You really do have to be careful here now. Back on board. This time with Outsiders, they are holding the southern side. One trade already going out. They're able to knock one onto Hakas, and that's a huge pickup taking out that Wraith. We'll see if he does get res. They don't have a bubble for it quite yet.
たまに音声が消えるのは何なんや。
Take a look. Going to be a moment for them to get some heals off. The Outsider side, a team that we saw do very well early on. They were third place after the first game. They dropped fourth overall after game number 2. So going to be looking to put together a pretty big game number 4. If you're just joining us, folks, welcome to the Apex Legends Global Street Online Tournament number 4. This is game number 4 in the standings so far. Dead Inside and Myth are tied first and second at 32. Nastrape Dell at third with 31. And Ad Hoc Gaming in fourth right now with 27 points. As we also go ahead to check in board.
Bluetooth を持っていない。なぜ持っていない。普通1個ある。
He's had a pretty decent run so far amongst our first 3 games. Right now they are the team that's set up. They don't have a Pathfinder, but there were 2 Pathfinder teams around here. Now, if you're not running, if you're a Jibby team, what you can do is just try and shadow other teams that do have a Pathfinder, right? You use that kind of information that you're able to glean from them. And so I like this position for them here. As they're just playing around a beacon right now, and they're waiting to see what the other team motion is.
Absolutely, they like the Cooler side.
やらん。2つあるけどやらん。
double white armor. They got a rotation.
古い方ならワンチャンあげちゃうけど。
Cooler actually was a skyhook or a sorting drop traditionally. You have to think they probably got their Lava City landing that fast. Excuse me, their Lava City hold. If they had a sorting drop, it would have been very fast for them to get the hold that they got. If it was a skyhook drop, probably more likely that they were at sorting this game. That's gotten them a good hold, but they're one of the few teams I think here as well. Another example with XCC that is going to have to play off of white armor because they wanted to get in early. And with the limited amount of buildings and cover that you have in Lava City and Lava City North, can't blame them for rotating early.
EXE going to go ahead and make a play to try and get to the east side of this map here. Possibly even just hole up inside this RV right now. And they're in a pretty good spot. Rugby, though, down to 1 HP.
My goodness. Let's see, able to get this med kit off, perhaps stays back and is able to do it, and they're just going to have to hold up. Like you said, Jamerson, they're going to need to wait for teams to rotate. They're going to look for picks. They're going to hold this as long as they can and make sure that they don't get down unnecessarily.
Already one knock going on over as Sanya, excuse me, will go down as well. It's all to end layer here, but he goes down as well. It's Weigers to clean it up.
Yeah, Weiger's able to make that push, and you know, you have to think, was it that first bit of damage, that first poke that came in that really allowed that Weiger's push to come in, and you have to be so careful that even if you're playing on a Wraith and you're just holding a building like that in Lava City North, all it takes is the right amount of poke damage to come in to force some heals, and that's exactly what happened. Weigers takes advantage of that, and they do it pretty well, to be honest, because in a game 4, it's you know, it's a risky play, but I think we're seeing Weigers right now in terms of where they're sitting on the table in 20th, in dead last, so you have to think, you know, for them, it's a great play to just, why not take that chance? They're in game 4 in last place. Those are the kind of plays they need to make if they really want to make a run here in games 4 and 5. Like, much easier said than done, but they're off to a decent start in game number 4.
10-2222でもうちょっと3000いけそうやったのに負けたところ。
Who are making the rotation to the southern side here, and this is what a lot of teams have been doing, kind of in the meta to reaction to how other teams play in their lobbies right now, where teams are favoring what should be the less populated side here.
いやけどレイスハゲのやつより髪の毛生えちゃうやつの方が好きやな。
That kind of like group thinking leads to the opposite effect that they have. Another team on the opposite end, they're able to throw out that port as excuse me, the shield as the nades are raining in on them.
そこで顔出すがや。勇気がすげえ。
Still damage coming in. They're going to be forced to push back down the hill just a little bit. Need to play this very carefully, able to get that bat off. Those shots coming in from all sorts of directions, though. So also the Wraith is going to have to queue. They are going to have to try to retreat as fast as they can here to the tunnel.
Looks like they do have a pocket to work with here. To be interesting to see if they actually destroy that Watson trap. Yeah, they do actually just go ahead and clear it.
ほとんどのパーティーがワットソンとレイス使うもんな。てか絶対ワットソンとレイスいいもんな。
On the other side of the corner, it was actually Alliance who was forcing them off of their loot, and so they're going to be able to recover this. This is going to be really great. And I like that we are seeing a lot more of the Evo shields coming out with that huge buff again. To max it out, 625 damage, that's all you need. Zace himself only needs 185 damage to be able to get that red shield. They got a gold on Hawkes. This is everything you really want, especially if you're trying to get that caustic into the late game here. They are going to have to play edge. I want to see if they go for this fight inside the tunnel, or if they play a little bit more passively.
Absolutely, and Alliance, a team that needs to put up some big points for these games 4 and 5 as well. We saw in the pregame just what that tournament win meant to Hawkes and team, but right now they are sitting in 10th place with 18 points, so also big performances needed out of them. And of course, right now they're going to have an opportunity to take their time on this push. Minute 30 left before they'll need to even think about moving, but that route into Lava City proper is going to need to be very carefully calculated.
とりあえずどれでもいいけん5000じゃあ3000ハンマーと来ている。
I think SJP2 win the tiebreakers though, and so that 18 points, it's going to be a 14-point difference between them and first place that I can easily be made up within 2 games, and they just need one stellar game. They've already got a few kill points here. They need to secure more though here in the early game, so we'll see if they can do that.
レブナントでこの前レブナント1900ダメージ出たけど2000ギリギリかかったけど
They're actually pretty far west as well. We're going to keep an eye on them. They still haven't even made their way over to Cage just yet, but certainly another team that we're going to be keeping an eye on.
まあまあ団子頑張れ
I'd like to see if possibly Alliance
やりよったらそのうち取れる
throw
なんか
over
調子いい時があ
a
る
few caustic barrels
あ今
towards
日
their
取れるっ
west.
ていう時がある
At the very least, try and sneak one in along the path that if a team has to try and exit
さ
from
っきの
there.
今日やりよった
Just to be
最
a
後の
little
試
bit
合
of a
はあ
nuisance.
取れる
But
日やっ
I
たけ
think
ど
now that
パス
Alliance
ファインダーや
have
った
been
け
able
意
to
味が
secure
な
a
かった
building, if they can move up to the second floor, it'd be a lot easier for them to hold, as there are 3 points of ingress here.
ダイヤ俺
on
レ
the
ブナン
first
ト
floor.
し
Much easier
か
for them to
あ
hold
れ
on
や
the
な
second floor.
の
Again, though,
誰
here
も
on the
ダウン
northern
しない
side,
で
we're
のや
seeing
つ持ってる
Weigers after they had,
レ
of
ブナン
course,
ト以外誰
taken
も
that
持って
team
ない
fight
な
win
そう
now. They've been able to maintain this position on the building here.
誰
I
も
want to
死な
see
ないでなら
exactly
持っ
how
ちゃう
many
けど
teams are currently around them, though. And it looks like it might just be the one that they're facing off against in the other building.
Yep, and just a little bit of a poke battle in between these Lava City buildings, and maybe even more than you would expect to have seen pre-Evo Shield, but you see a few of the players involved in those
正
poke
直
battles
ミラー
unsurprisingly
ジ
rocking
と
Evos, and
ブラッ
actually
ド
there
ハウ
you
ン
see
ド以外の
Hubs
レジェ
made
ン
the
ドは
call that you're
今の
also
ま
going
ま
to see
で
the charge rifle
現
big
状維持
part
でいい
of
と思う
those poke battles in terms of collecting that Evo damage as well. But like you said, Weigers knows they need to be careful at how they play this right now, making sure they don't fall victim to exactly what happened to them. Of course, we're a bit later in the game, so it's even more unlikely that someone will make a push on one of those Lava City North buildings, giving that the other building and anyone around the dome and that middle part of Lava City would also likely
Yeah,
there are a lot of things that come into why the Evo Shield is so big. And one big thing we didn't really talk about was, of course, the nerf to low profile, where they no longer take leg damage and it's just full body damage.
We do see a push there, and you see in the ops feed actually.
レイスあれやけんね、国空使いようときに武器変えたいときは、インベントリ開いて武器の位置変えたら武器が勝手に変わるけん。あれ強いな。R99 って国で隠れて、ピースキーパーそのまますぐ撃てるの強い。ミラージュ強化入る言うても、あれどうやって強化するわけ？あれもどうやってもクソやろ。俺あれでウルトが1回使える回数が増えるとかやったらマジもうダメぞ。使用率は減る。余計見捨てられる。レベナントぐらいの強化入れんと使用率は減ったままに。だってそもそもミラージュのダミーに騙されるやつがおらん。
Absolutely, and you gotta wonder what prompted AHG, what amount of poke damage or scenario prompted them to push all the way from their building. Certainly it was not a matter of timing exactly in terms of the ring movement. So certainly they got an advantage.
使用率とうとう最下位になったわ。
In the top of the minimap, but
レベナントが強化入ってしまった。
now they're actually the ones that are reigning in damage.
使用率 2. 何パーか 1. 何パーやったぞ。
Is able to stay alive there for a moment. He'll be forced to drop down as well, but they're in all sorts of trouble from different angles, most specifically that northern angle from the side of Ad Hoc Gaming.
Yeah, they bit off a bit more than they could chew, trying to go for this rotation now, as In Style will be the next to go down. It's all up to Darkin. Left as a solo Gibraltar. At the very least, he does at least have that.
もうミラージュ一時やりよったらもう一発撃って本物かどうかの確認を一応するけど一発撃つだけでもう騙されねえもんな。
Absolutely. Triumph, a team that's certainly been on our radar as well. Names that anyone who's been watching competitive Apex will recognize, but they're sitting in 18th right now with only 6 points.
ミラージュね、最近見んよね、使える人。もう全く見んなったよね、ノラテイルと。遊びで使うぐらいよね、あいつ。
On that Lava City building now, playing edge as much as they can, but Kuya taking a whole lot of damage somehow is able to get away, and they will now force some heals as well. They should have a moment.
まだブラッドハウンドの方を見るよね。
Yeah, Zipeth, of course, doing what he does best there. As he did have the highest HP for his team, so he was just covering the angle now, but they do have a nice pocket to work with here to fully stabilize before they make their next move. This is going to be interesting as it does pull over toward that train station. On board, we were for just a moment with Nasky Dell and Strafe, but they're just trading away now. So down to 12 squads, 36
キャラとしてはね、好きやけどね。あいつ運営に嫌われたけんね。運営に嫌われちゃうレベルで効果がね。
Absolutely, and now Easy
not
quite completely alone on the train, but right now certainly one of the only teams setting up on the train cars. But if you take a look at the minimap, only 2 buildings, right? 12 squads left and only 2 buildings in this next ring. This will be carnage. Teams are going to be flying out of all 4 of the western Lava City buildings.
けどね、味方の位置が分かっちゃうときにね、勝手に使われたときにこっちの位置バレるけんね、あれイラッツ。使うね。
Strafe taking a lot of damage, but at least they're still alive right now. They definitely want to try and make it to the top 5. They haven't even broken top 10 quite yet, but carnage, like you said, is going to ensue. Now, we do have a few levels to work with on the train station, but I only imagine about 2 teams being able to play there. There is a pocket on the right-hand side, so that might be a 3rd team that's able to take position there. The open, though, yeah, I don't see how half the lobby is going to be able to survive this as the zone does start to close now.
Absolutely now, you see that close coming in, and now really it's going to be teams praying that other squads are looking the other direction, that they're going to have to make some movements very quickly here across this open area. Kill feed starts to light up. Navi, Morning Stars, as well as Dead Inside, picking up a few of those first picks, even more coming in for Morning Stars, Navi, and also Ad Hoc Gaming as well. Just like that, we're into our top 10.
Yeah, Nasky, Dell, and Strafe go down there, and that's a huge huge stop to them as they were sitting at 31 points before this here. And so stopping that momentum, making their game number 5 even that much more crucial. It's going to be huge going into this. Right now, we got to concentrate on Myth, who are sitting at 32 points overall, and they want to maintain that kind of lead up going into game number 5 here. This could be a huge statement for them.
Absolutely, Myth, a team that we talked about, they look very good coming out of the first 2 games of the last online tournament. Right now, they're sitting in first. They're tied up with 32 points, so we've seen some very good holds from them, and they're going to look to have an even stronger finish in this tournament, though, as we see Easy still getting pressured. They need to be careful here as how they play this. So just a little over half of the lobby survives that one, but now as it will be an ending there as we see Easy going out in the feed. Cooler and Navi are going to be a few of the teams that get KP out of that, but now back in mid, still looking for a little bit of that poke damage. Sharp, not too far off of that red, 200 points, 200 damage, excuse me, away.
Yeah, we're down to 7 squads, excuse me, with 21 players. So it's going to be full squads here. But luckily, nice pocket coming out for this 4-story building. So the teams that are up here are going to be looking to try and get whatever KP they can for whatever teams that have to go out into the open. As you can see, now the Wraith portal coming in. Do have a little bit in the bottom left to work with, as we do have that caustic gas coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking a look at exactly, I don't have an eye on exactly whose Wraith that is. That could be, if I'm not mistaken, it could be an Alliance Wraith, so that could be Hackus down there. We'll have to get confirmation on exactly that's down there.
次の試合が始まるまでちょっと APEX 一戦入ってみよう。
But you saw just as Myth tried to take a look at that Wraith, they can't even peek because of how much pressure is coming in now. Round 6 is closing in. Once again,
この試合見た後に俺の試合見たらどんだけクソかが分かるだろう。あ、分かる。ピースキーパーね、当たるとき112がめちゃくちゃ出る。調子乗って次の試合もピースキーパー持ったら痛いみたい。2試合同じゲームは続かん。
Yeah, look at this now. Myth is still the team we're watching. Can't blame the observers here because they are the ones in control. They have this balcony. They are sitting on all purple. Sharp very close to a red as well. Any shot, any part of the body will certainly be the one to do it now. More shots coming in. This is Myth's game to lose.
なんぞ俺のプレーを見たくないってか。いい度胸じゃねえか。
As the pings do come out, it looks like the zone pulls just a little bit there, straight down to the south, and so now they're holding on to that position. We'll see if they can set up for it.
ウィングマン意外と当たる。
17% off from his bombardment here.
視野角92とかにしたら当たる。
Pressure on to this team on the low ground. They do have enough time. I mean, it's 1 minute left.
これ屋上多分勝つぞ。屋上が勝つぞこの試合。あれ屋上無理だろうもう誰も。
Gamers Origin for a thermite up top as they're just trying to get that scout damage and pokes onto that fence. They just don't have the angles. As we take a look and see Myth still holding here on level 2.
フォートナイトで大会しとったら回復勝負になったらマジつまらんけど、APEX 回復勝負になることはないけど面白いな。視野角広すぎるとマジでウィングも当たらん当たらん。
Remaining, we do have Gamers Origin on the height. On the roof. By the way, Faizu, the only player, you see him on screen now. From Navi, the only player alive. He's able to get that gold, and now just trying to rat out as much as he can on that fence. It's rough times for Faizu, but they have made him into top 4.
This is reminding me of
Gun Gale Online using death boxes
there. Set up a little bit of a fortress for himself, and he's got the armor swaps to work with as well. But now, as that solo rat, he just wants to try and get that extra placement. Maybe pick up KP if he can. During this last round here, we have Gamers Origin setting up.
なるほど、ダメージ食らわんようにそこに隠れるがか。頭よ。頭よ。視野角マックス当たらんやろ。広すぎて。うわ、そのウルト頭よ。なるほどね。それでダメージが当たらんなると。
And the pre-heals in terms of who can outlast the other team. About with 4 squads left, it's going to be a pretty wild heal-off between every single level of this building.
すげえ。時間を計算してちょっと一発食ろうって回復を入れるという。いやもう考えがプロすぎん。
Actually, Myth actually going to be the ones that's getting a little bit of aggression going out now. Amaz is going to be the only player. They did not want to wait till just the end of the heal-off. Amaz will fall as well. I believe that's going to be game over. I'm not mistaken. It could be a game over. Excuse me, it could be a Gamer's Origin victory from up top. We didn't exactly see in the feed if that is going to be the case. So we'll have to see exactly when that scoreboard does come up. with a 4 squad remaining heal off, you
よし、次の試合が始まるまでちょっと私はエペックスをします。
don't exactly get the
痛くない
opportunity
な
to
ら
see
貴
exactly
様ら一回
who
去
might
れ。
win it. But I think if I'm not mistaken, I'm
始ま
looking
った
forward
ら
to
入ってき
seeing.
な。
It was it Alliance in the end.
Yeah, that was absolutely beautiful coming out there. As even though, of course.
いや、今の IQ200 やね。IQ200 どころじゃないね。あれは多分もうニュートン超えたね。今のうちに充電しようき、お前は。次の試合まで充電しようき。音消して。誰か次の試合が始まったよって伝えれる人がおったら伝えて。始まったよ。そう、どうしようか。デュオでいっか。始まった時にすぐ抜けれるように。じゃあ一戦終わったらやめるか。すぐ始まりそうやし。何使おうかな。何使おうたらいい。レイスか。レイスか。さっきまで試合見よった感じ。ミラージュだけ持ってない。レジェンドミラージュだけ放置。レースコースティック。どっちや。コースティックか。コースティックけど、デュオでコースティック邪魔。ミラージュ俺の中ではもう捨てた存在。プレイヤーが11人しかおらん。ライフライン、地雷やろ、デュオでライフライン、コースティック。レイス使うか、さっきの試合見った感じやっけ。ああ、バンガロールね。バンガロール使うか、じゃあ。11人。始まらんがいいけど。待機メンバーが少なすぎて、試合がそもそも始まらん。4人。減った。やばくね？マッチが始まらん。トリオ行こうか。どうした？全然マッチングせんがいいよ。やばくね、19人。トリオで19人もう無理じゃね？36人。47人。お、いけるか。このままいけ。トリオなら別にライフライン、コースティックどっちでもいいで。何でもいいで。正直それの動きができるかどうかは別の話として。レース。よーし。じゃあ、レブナント。虫なんですね。 みんなの意見無視なんですね。クソみたいなパーティーができた。何このあれ。そして超弱い味方が11、ランク11が。あ、チャンピオンはかわいそうに。さあどこに降りよう。あれ、マップが見れん。終わった。あれ、マップキーが。あれ、いいや、敵いっぱいおるとこ行こう。チーター臭いな、確かに。落ちた。死ね。そして誰も来てくれん。クソったれが。いいもん、ソロで行くよ。いいよ、もうソロでやってやるよ。ほら、こういうことよ。プロはこういうところで R99 見つけるのに、俺はこういうとこ探しても RE45 しか教えん。おかしい。301か。まあ、チーターやった場合は無視。報告して終了。無理だよ。装備が勝てる装備じゃないよ。インナー。そこインナー。あ、面白いこと考えた。おった。怖っ。無理だろ、あれ。あれ無理だろ。見てんな。くらえ。もうおらん。もうあここにおらん。で、一人落ちてん。これデュオやった？俺デュオ行った？ヒアじゃねえよ。いけねえよ。当たってないの今の。当たったやろ。今の当たったくね。来てんな、こっち。痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い痛い 痛い無理いじめやって無理ごめん無理
course, by the end, Navi setting it up for himself. I don't know if he got a barrel on top of him, but Alliance were able to just close it.
Absolutely, and even though, despite all of the consistent plays, now is when you got to pull out all the punches. Now is when you might see teams do something a little bit more crazy. Probably none of the teams in like the top 5 are doing anything crazy, but you might see one of these lower teams that know they need a really big game to get a little wacky with it. So
all right, I love it, man. I love it. Let's see if they can get a little wacky with it, brother. We'll get back with some analysis after this one, but it's time, ladies and gentlemen, to get into Game 5. This is the moment you've been waiting for Europe. Let's send it over to your casters and get into it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Rain Day, Hotsick, appreciate the analysis and post game as always. Hotsick, unbelievable to have you not only making content for Apex on a daily basis, but now on the analyst desk contributing every single day. Speaking of which, also great to have my man Onset back, and we get to cast game number 5, which is ready right here, right now. Onset, any key storylines or anything in particular you're looking forward to going into game 5?
I mean, the big thing is the Alliance comeback. What a huge game they just had in that game number 4. They've pushed themselves up into second place, just 4 points behind Myth now. But we're talking about those guys. Let's give Myth some love. We've talked about how they are the team who have managed to qualify for every single finals. Can they win one is the big question. They hold down the top spot. But before we get too carried away with things, we have to say, and Bravo brought this up while we were having a chat between games, the fact that they had a great start in the last tournament, and then they kind of fell away a little bit in game 4 or game 5. Now they're in position to win. Do they have the nerve? Do they have the steel and the experience to be able to close out a tournament victory?
All eyes on Myth and Alliance. Let's go ahead and jump into a listen-in so we can hear the comms of Alliance themselves right now.
Ja, håll koll nu. Jag tror inte det. Jag sticker bakom mig, Shane. Jag går för mitten och fronten.
列車に降りるの強くね。
Du kan luta till den och du.
わからん、これ何試合あるんや。誰か調べてくれ。
Backpack med blå här. Okej, mitten sög kuk.
Bakom sög kuk också.
Okej, hela tåget sög kuk. Ingenting alltså. Ingenting. Okej, det är Skräksund. Vi gör det vi sa.
And there you have it in the native language of Team Alliance, Swedish, I believe, from Hockey & Co. You get to hear some insights, and of course for our fans coming from Sweden and watching. Interesting to hear the internal comms of the number 1 team right now, who just went huge in game number 4 to leapfrog from 10th place to where they're currently sitting in second place behind Myth in this game. A massive game number 4. Looks like they're gonna
最大で5ラウンドらしいわ。5回らしい。これでラストやった。当たり前やないか、起きとるがな。試合これでラストや。終わったらエイペックスしようと。なんかエイペックスによったらエイペックスのモチベが上がってくる。
Navigation across the map, and you can see it here. We do have the Pathfinder beacon, and we can see it is more central. It isn't going to take fragment in, so probably a train yard drill site ending by the looks of things.
5試合目やろこれ多分。ゲーム5って書いてあるし、公式の方に最大5試合って書いてたけん、多分これで終了。
Then the likes are that the ring after that will slightly have a preference to pull towards the north or towards the west as well. That's why you see what we see right now in these first 2 rings. We'll see if that continues to stay true with these later rings, but of course predicting where those rings are going to rotate after so many scrims, understanding the
PC
ring rotations is crucial for these top players. But having a Pathfinder to find that second ring off the rip is perhaps the most crucial, especially if you can pick up some beacons after the fact with some early rotations to towns or locations, POIs, points of interest that also have a beacon for us.
頭おかしいって、いや普通この時間起きちゃう。
Yes, Myth are top of the leaderboard at the moment with 44 points, but you can go all the way down to 7th place where Gamers Origin are sat on 30 points. A 14-point game isn't out of the equation for any of these teams.
別に直差しでも多分俺できんことはねえんだよな。
It's the cliche, I know, but in a game 5 to have an opportunity to still win and so many teams still involved, keep an eye on that kill feed, because as soon as we see teams being dropped that are in those positions, so not only potentially
若干の遅延は感じるろうけど。
we need to keep an eye for that.
Yeah, it's a great call out. we see right now Fragment East and West, which is really highly contested in Europe, especially in these lobbies. Nasky straight from Dell like to land there. We've seen a couple other teams. The early rotations coming through. People taking some insights from TSM's playbook, one of the earliest and fastest teams to rotate. We're seeing that happen right now as we see almost every member of both teams flying towards drill site, trying to get to that side of the map, especially those from Fragment are pretty well positioned right now. So you got to think slight advantage in the hands of teams that drop at Fragment. Nasky Strafe and Del, we were just on board with one of them. They're currently sitting in 4th place with 35 points, only 9 points behind Myth in 1st. So a solid game from Nasky Strafe and Del could be in the works. Ad Hoc Gaming tied with 35 points in 5th place overall as well, who we're currently on board with. Of course, they're both trailing the likes of Myth and Alliance early on, as it looks like an early game fight's about to ensue.
Yeah, drill site is going to be where the fights are going to be going down. But I wanted to talk about Ad Hoc Gaming because at the moment they're one of those teams who are very much in contention to win this. However, an early game fight is the last thing they want. They haven't had to rotate too far from their initial drop point to get into this position. It looks like they're smartly backing up now and making sure that they at least get some real estate in this potential end circle.
Wise decision. It's almost like they heard you, or they're professional players, one of the two, as they're going to back out and reset, recognizing this is not the fight we want to get in. We want to die early. Tried playing for a pick with some aggression early on. It worked for a bit, but the team was able to reset and get to a defensive position. So Ad Hoc Gaming is going to back out and reset. Meanwhile, on board with Cooler over towards the train site. They're trying to get themselves a nice high ground, nice position as well in train site.
Yeah, so they know they have a good
position and a good location. They know the ring's going to be collapsing towards that area of the map.
6まで休んだら多分7、1回学校行かないかになるぞ、どうせ。俺髪切ったのにまた伸びるやんけ、学校始まったら。切ったのに怒られるのか、めんどくせえな。俺もこの距離当たんない。
Now we're going to be moving over and just looking across some of the rotations that are going down.
大丈夫、俺最近生活習慣がバグっちょるけん、5時、6時に寝てもなぜか9時に1回目が覚める。うわー、負けていく。
And another team are going to be eliminated fairly early on in this game.
Guess what? That's our number 4 team, Nasky Strafe and Dell. They won our first game of the tournament. They will get taken out early in game number 5. That will be the end to their tournament, currently in 4th place. But with other teams that might be able to leapfrog, we'll see where they end up. Ad Hoc Gaming has to be pretty confident about that, as they were tied with 35 points in 5th place and still alive. Over towards Drill Site, an opportunity to survive here. Currently on board with NWR as they're rotating through train tracks.
Yeah, and just not Ad Hoc Gaming as well. Na'Vi, Gamers, Origin, they are the teams who were chasing that 4th place team. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, they're out, as you mentioned, John. They are gone. Dropping that early in the tournament in a game 5 has to be heartbreaking for them, but just think about what the comms are going to be like now. If they've noticed that in the kill feed, those 3 teams, they are going to be absolutely ecstatic with the fact that that team has been taken out of contention.
Yeah, that's spot on.
わかる、エボシールド2。
Game number 4, who leapfrogged again from 10th place to 2nd. Alliance currently with 40 points, just 4 behind Myth. One of our most consistent teams, not only of this series, but of the online tournaments in general. You have to give respect to them. They, of course, are joined by Oxbow, former member of the Powder Puff Bruvs, who broke up after the last tournament, after the retirement of their team captain. And now Oxbow's landed himself on a pretty solid team with this Myth squad. Let's see what he can do.
So now we're watching a team set up in train station at the moment. They look like they're kind of betting on a potential pull towards train station. If you can get some of those high carriages, it's such a difficult position to try and weasel some teams out of if you're rotating in late and trying to get any grenades up there. Just swallowing those up. So the next circle is going to be massive for any teams at the moment. I would say that a lot of teams are hedging their bets by looking at the odds at the moment, that it is moving towards drill site. However, we have seen some very hard pulls on that third circle. So I think there's going to be a few teams who are set up in drill site at the moment. But probably wait with a little bit of bated breath that it doesn't pull away from them towards train yard.
The trainer back on site with Hardeki. We all know Hardeki for quite the monster of clips, quite a few clips that he's gotten.
確かに密を守ってない。3つの密守らない。窓開けちゃかない。そこの扉開けちゃかんと。空気が。
Currently in ring right now, but again, we'll try and see if we can hop to a team that has a
一人
Pathfinder.
白シールドはきついね、この
Rotated
パー
early,
ティー。
you gotta think it might be difficult for a Pathfinder to get another beacon. I don't even know if there's a beacon within this ring to try and figure out where that last ring is. So we'll keep an eye
こ
on
の
that.
プレデターの人のこのプレデターバッジかっけえよな、欲しいよな。だからプレデターになりてえよな。
Yeah, I think the teams that we are aware of and are in a good position to potentially put in a
マジ
big
プレデ
game,
ターバッ
maybe
ジかっけ
with the
え。
tournament at the moment that we've seen Ad Hoc Gaming, who were in 5th coming into this. They're set up at the moment in drill site. The same could be said as of Alliance, excuse me. who are set in second place at the moment on 40 points. So both of those are already within drill sight. They're already towards that potential end game circle and in a great position moving forward.
Yep, on board with Myth, SHRP, trying to go for long-range snipe shots. Hardecki's gonna montage clips, gonna down one. That's TS. Revive should come through. Needs to be careful for grenades, and the grenades are gonna come through. But of course, the ultimate will be dropped by Watson. I believe just after that nade exploded. At least for now, but Hardecki's still going for some shots here with that triple take. Keep in mind, I believe it was a member of Myth that had a Sentinel just on the other side of the map, putting shots in cross range as well. So this team is between a rock and a hard place right now, as they're just trying to survive. It looks like Hardecki and Co are going to back out and reset and just maintain control of top train yard.
Yeah, and that's the big thing to do here. Realize that if you're at a disadvantage in a battle, or you can't press your advantage either that you thought you might have had, it's the realization, it's the communication and relaying that you need to retreat. You need to be able to get your heels off. And when we're getting with all these teams now enclosing all these different areas on the map, these areas of real estate within ring, the last thing you want to be doing is getting too aggressive in a fight, getting third-partied, and not only taking yourself out of the game, but giving kill points and easy kill points to other teams who are rotating.
Hockey's and Alliance still alive, so you brought up some good points. A couple teams that are in this one, Ad Hoc Gaming, Myth, and Alliance. 3 of our top 5 teams still alive in this one. We'll try to see if Dead Inside, Stanny and Co, we saw them a little bit ago. I think they're still alive as well and still in this. Triumph, a team currently in 18th place with only 7 kills, is who we're currently on board with. So they're going to need a really big pop-off and a lot of kills if they want to urge their way back into that top 5 and take home a little bit more of that prize pool on the European side of things. Of course, if you're watching right now and a fan of Apex globally, we have North American broadcast coming up after this. European broadcast. Currently watching the European finals. They're multinational teams. We're going to see what can happen.
全部当たらんかったとしても、ちまちまのダメージ腹立つよね。シールドが。回復せないかんなり。
This is the moment for all these teams. This is what they've been preparing for. This is what they've been playing for. This is what competitive players live for. Big game 5 where anyone is still in with a contention and still in with a chance of potentially becoming a champion. So for all these players in at the moment, as I said, the nerves are going to be jangling. The decision making is going to seem a little bit more difficult than it was early on, because one mistake at this point and you are quite simply out of the tournament.
Spot on. And speaking of getting out of the tournament here, B100 already ended the tournament life of Nasky, Strafe, and Dell. Outsiders here. Outsiders with 26 points. They're still in it in 8th place. B100 in dead last with 6 points, but they have been disrupting so much here as OS now has high ground over B100. So they lost one member, that was Mistral, but they did regain high ground control over B100. B100 is really playing like they have nothing to lose, playing incredibly aggressive in these early team fights. They already took out one squad. We'll see if they can get a second, as it looks like OS is going to try and reset.
Yeah, the team that's being aggressive and, as you say, may not have something to play for as far as, you know, potentially winning a tournament, could really disrupt some of the teams that are playing to win the tournament. If you get pushed, if you get W-keyed by a team who just want to take your spot, want to get aggressive, want to get as many kills on the board as they possibly can before the end of this game, that could be the end of your tournament, as we are going to see that ring closing in now. And the next ring is the absolute moment of this game. Is it going to be towards train yard? Is it going to pull towards the open where that truck is in the middle? Or will drill site still be contained within that next circle?
Keep in mind, those teams that are playing aggressive aren't just doing it because they're griefing or they're trying to, but they're doing it because they need to. They need to play aggressive. They need high kills, and that's their only attempt to get a top 10, top 8, top 7 finish. Something respectable they're shooting for. So B100 doing everything they can to play early aggression. They already have 4 kills to their name. Nice shot with the Sentinel going to be cross map from SHRP of Myth. And here's this Myth squad currently in first place. It's their game to lose, as they're in a great position here in this late game as well. I believe in ring right now on the train yard alongside 3 or 4 other teams. So very well positioned is Myth.
Yeah, a lot of teams are well positioned. As you say, Myth is a team who, if you're just joining us, who are currently holding down first place, but it's only by 4 points. That could change in the blink of an eye. Should they lose a player? Should they pick up a kill point? All of those factors are coming into the game at the moment. In this game 5, 1 minute 10. Until we see that next circle closing. That is the moment we're waiting for.
And we just saw Noises with such so many high kill games so far, or big plays. He actually broke ice for his team. Back out and reset. And Darkin gonna pick up the last kills. That is it for B100 as NWR gives them a taste of their own medicine with some aggression. 3 kills picked up for NWR.
Now we're going to see a little bit of a period of calm, I think, just
エヴァね、持っても当たんねえんだよな。12とかしか出んもん。
This is where all of the Wraith players, all of the IGLs are going to be looking around and thinking, where do we move to? Where is safe? How can we rotate into that next circle? And at this point,
今のジブうま。
it has to be not only a plan A, but a plan B and C, depending on where that ball comes in. So IGLs have a huge part to play in this part of the game.
As you mentioned, typically the Wraith, because the Wraith is in the front lines, they're the ones playing aggressive, getting in the fight. So they're able to kind of call things and see things that perhaps others don't see. Also that passive, where you get some extra voices, extra intel if someone sees you, also helps in that scenario as well. On board with Matafe, speaking of IGLs, we've seen some brilliant clips of him as an IGL, getting some good shots in as that Wraith, breaking ices. We know he does, and Wraith does best. But this team's going to be forced to back out and reset here in this one, as they're going to be tagged up quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm just keeping my eye on the top left-hand corner of my screen at the moment, as I'm sure everyone else at home is as well, watching those seconds just tick away before that ring closes. And I think every single team who's involved at the moment, I said they were putting up for prayer earlier. Well, I mean, they're going to be praying for every single piece of luck going their way with that ring pull as it does close in. Na'Vi also set up here, and they are in a position as well to potentially win this tournament. They're in 6th place, and just remember, if you are just joining us, the team who are in 4th place were eliminated extremely early on.
SJP2, again, it's almost like Inception here. They're going to take out NWR, who took out B100, who took out Nasty Straight and Dell. Now SJP2 in a world of hurt. Looks like 2 of his numbers are down. Denze trying to just survive if he can. SJP2, the winners, I believe, of game 2 or 3. They've won 1. They're currently sitting in 10th place with 18 points. Haven't made a lot of noise since then. And now in a really, really precarious situation, as he will try and see if there's any way, any world where he can revive his teammate to stay alive.
Yeah, この人医療キットないのきついな。
That maybe you do want alive if he's going to be ratting. We saw what he did in that 2v1 situation to win them game. He did not miss a bullet. And if they're going to have any kind of success in this game as far as placement is concerned, he's going to have to make sure that he is not missing one in this game either. But just moving across at the moment, you can see so many different teams who are still involved in the battle for first place, still alive in this game. We're on board of Ad Hoc Gaming here, set up under the building in drill site. Now we have seen that ring pull as well. You can see it. It is just including a little bit of drill site, but it looks like it's going to be more in the open here, John, which means that it's going to be an even more frantic finish to the end of this game.
I cannot wait. An unbelievable finish to what has been a great European online tournament. Again, the EU scene never disappoints, undoubtedly. Currently on board with Matafe, who's right next to Na'Vi. Alliance, Myth, Dead Inside. 5 of our top 6 teams still alive in this one. Make it actually 6 of our top 7, as I believe Gamers Origin also alive. AHG, Ad Hoc Gaming, the addition of Kuya from Kababula, currently next to Na'Vi, and as they're just kind of hugging each other and trying not to fight, trying to play this late rotation.
Yeah, they're going to have to play a late rotation, but they haven't got to go too far. The only problem is, as you can see here, there is not only one team, but I think 2 teams who are in their way, but some beautiful shots coming in from Zippet there with the devotion. Absolutely melts the player who's trying to rotate, and here comes Matafe as well, putting the portal out. Now AHG are making their move.
Yeah, めっちゃ遠くから狙ってくるやん。
Who gets taken down?
Great shots coming in. Kuya trying to survive for his team if he can, but Zippeth is still stuck in the scenario. Looks like all 3 of them are going to revive and back out. Will a team challenge through portal? I don't think so. So they should live to fight another day. Interestingly enough, in online tournament 3, we saw the same exact scenario. Ad Hoc Gaming was in a world of hurt mid-game, somehow survived to late game, and ended up winning that. Will we see history repeat itself right now? Is that we actually have Alliance on the top right of our screen. Speaking of history repeating itself, can Alliance get another tournament win under their belt?
Yeah, that's going to be the
さあ、ここの人らは出たくてもあんまり出れない。
Not only the one-time champ, but the two-time champ. And answer that question that I posed at the start of this match and the start of this tournament: who is going to be the team to step up and really put a marker down as being the #1 team in Europe? And at the moment, for Alliance to take home a second tournament win, you couldn't argue that they are the #1.
エボか、エボ強っ。エボシュ強っ。
Ad Hoc Gaming in 5th place with 35 points. Myth in 1st with 44. So it's neck and neck for the winner of Europe, which goes to show how much competition.
さあ、ハボク、ハボク。てか、この位置強っ。この位置強っ。バカ当てるやん、こいつ。こいつバカ当てるやん、さっきから。あ、そうそう、ディボーション、ディボーション。エヴァとマジ。今の人、ウィングもバカ当てるけど。
But the fact that they've already made it into the top 10 means they have placement points. Can they get some kills? Can they push towards a first tournament victory?
Currently what we're seeing from SHRP, no kills picked up just yet. Great overhead view here is going to show a little bit of where we're currently standing. 1 kill for Oxbow.
さあ、全パーティーにレースがいます。
Smith in a solid spot. We did see Stanny from Dead Inside, currently sitting in 3rd place, get taken out. So again, I think Myth is in the best position for top teams here. Other squads we're currently watching Samsung
あー、ダウン
Morningstar,
していく。
the variety of other teams that are still alive and still have an opportunity to go big in this
それ
late
な、
game.
一番そもそもあの距離見えねえし。豆やし的。
remaining as this ring is going to be collapsing.
さあ、ここから勝てるのか。いや、これは厳しい。厳しい。いやー、そうやな。厳しいな、今のは。さすがに今のはしょうがないな。
17 points coming into this game. It's going to be 3 kills, at least 20 for Cooler. Meanwhile, on board with Myth, we keep talking about their performance consistently. We keep talking about how they've shown up here, looking to finally close this out. Despite a great game 1 and game 2 in online tournament number 3, they were not able to show up in the late game. This time it's been the opposite story as Myth has just played consistently in game 3, 4, and now hopefully in 5. Couple shots put in on that
ウィングマンみんなめちゃくちゃ当てるやん。
red damage points. They know they're going to be at a slight disadvantage in shields because they are only sitting with blue shields in this scenario, but they're just going to survive. Back out, reset as we see Cooler. We see Gamers Origin get knocked at the top right of your screen.
Yeah, that wasn't just staying alive in that situation. They managed to take out Na'Vi as well. So Na'Vi, one of the teams who were sat in 6th place, are now eliminated. And the kill points go to our 1st place team as well. Myth are in position here, not only in the game, but actually as far as the leaderboards are concerned.
Exactly right. Triumph, though, looking to rain on their parade. I believe that those are shots being put on Myth from Triumph, who's very well positioned with high ground. And they're going to spot AHG as well. This is, I believe, where AHG was hiding. So, 2 teams in good position. Somehow, some way, clutch this up. Maybe getting spoiled by the likes of Triumph. Great peacekeeper shots from up top. And Myth and AHG now in a peculiar position.
いやー、きついな、あれ。いや、もう無理だ。あいつらめちゃくちゃ狙われるやん。かわいそうすぎるろ。そうやね、あそこ投げ物投げられたらもう無理やね。ああ、もうあれ無理だ。エヴァもちょい人多くね。
Wants to fight this. They want the aggression. Perhaps they know it's Myth currently sitting in 1st spot, but they are going to back out and reset. As I say that, their Watson does get knocked from somewhere else on the map, and now Triumph is actually the ones stuck fighting in 2 front wars. They're getting poked from their far side, and they know they have Myth right below them. They can't really
ああ、これは痛い。これは痛い。ああ、もう無理だ。痛い。具だったな、ここでキャラコン。さあ、残り3パーティー。おっと。スーパー。残り2パー。さあ、どっちが勝つか。障害物と利用の仕方がうめえ。
versus the last remaining squad. Not sure exactly who it is, but Triumph did get taken out, I believe. So did Myth. It's going to be Sanya, Enlayer, and Rugby for the last squad in this scenario. It is former Pro Crowd. Currently getting some good shots in. 1 goes down, 2 go down. That's going to be a wrap. Former Crow Crowd take this one with a Game 5 win. None of our top remaining teams from the top 3, top 4 are able to secure a 1st place finish. Instead, it's X-Crow Crowd in 9th place who had 23 points coming into this one.
さあ、シールドさやな、ラストあれ。きついな。
Certainly shaking things up now on set as we are getting ready to see whatever our standings may be. You gotta think Myth is in a good position.
いや、これが同じ、全員が紫とかやったらまたちょっと変わったかもしれんな。
I'm going to be the one who delivers the bad news. However, the fact that they were in the top 5 comfortably, they had KP to go along the way.
ブライアンめっちゃ興奮するやん。
Most importantly, the teams who were pushing them the most, the teams who were in contention to upset them, fell before them. So surely it has to be Myth who are going to be crowned our champions.
Yeah, and I'm looking here and I'm
優勝さえ分かったらもう私はエイペックス。
4th place finish. That is exactly what they needed. 5 kills, 3 for Oxbow, the newest member of this squad, performing incredibly well all day long. Perhaps Oxbow was the difference that Myth needed. Yes, they were always a great team, a consistent team, a solid team early game. But with Oxbow now,
頑張れ、8パーったらなんとかなる。この人らの話が長い。これでもしやったらお前もう見れんじゃん。今のうちに充電しよけ。
And third place, Triumph Gaming, who had a nice high ground position and put the end, you got to think, the nail in the coffin alongside Myth to the lives of Ad Hoc Gaming.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing there for Myth was not only the fact that they managed to get everything I think that they needed to do to potentially become champions, but the fact that all of the teams who were contesting them took each other out. I think it was Na'Vi who took out Alliance. The team that was in 4th place got took out within I think one of the first 2 teams that went out. If you're Myth and you see that happening, you are literally putting your feet up and you are saying, thank the Lord that this is happening. Because it just makes your life so much easier. It takes the pressure off you because you know that you're not going to be potentially in a situation in that top 4 where you're fighting against the teams who could potentially steal away your championship.
That's exactly right. They coasted, but they had to earn it in a tough spot throughout the entirety of that game number 5. To break down that game number 5, we have some of the best analysts in the game. We got the one and only Hodzik and Rain Day. Gentlemen, take us home.
Thanks so much,
いつまで話すねん、こい
Great
つら。
cast, guys. Great tournament so far. But it's not quite over. Our viewers, they're curious as to what will unfold as far as these points. We know that it was some XCC action towards the end of Game 5 and Triumph as well involved. But we all know that in the grand scheme of things, Myth is in a great conversation to be taking first place, but we don't have the official leaderboard count just yet. So we're going to talk a little bit about our post-match moments and reactions. I mean, that one, Hodzik, that was actually a
なんかもう眠い一回通り越したせいでもうなんか眠くない。いやー、ラストこれよな。
But they got pressured by Triumph, and it turned out to really hurt them as Myth could just push them and get them out of the conversation, almost kind of secure that they weren't getting contested by
親にじゃなくて自分に電話くれ。
delegates to win this overall tournament.
Absolutely, and especially like we had like a we had 6 teams. The top 6 were within 10 points.
親じゃなくて自分に電話くるくね。
A lot of competition there, and it sucks for all these teams that are just trying to squeak by, get any points they can.
4時過ぎたけんもう外出 OK で。
when like a team that's like not even contention of winning kind of kills them. But you got to think, from that team standpoint, they're trying to win some money. They're trying to get top 10, and all they need is a decent game. Triumph was in a really good spot right there in Drill, and they were just completely destroying a lot of the teams from that high ground. So, props to
俺親に電話かけられんがいいけど。
definitely screwed over some of the
この前3時までガン無視しちゃったに。親に電話いかんかったで。
You look at this team composition too. You look at the Wraith, you look at the Watson, and you have a look at the Gibraltar. And there's no Pathfinder on the squad that ends up winning. I mean, X-Crow Crowd had a lot of opportunities, and they had a really big game as well. I believe it was game 2, where they showed that this squad can do work.
今月バイトできてないせいで金ないがいいけど来た。
situation you end up finding yourselves in towards those late game circles, and with having to flex from the building's edge to kind of out in the open space, it seemed like they were able to deal with those
いい加減発表してくれんろうか、チャン
teams
ピオ
were
ン。
able to look at them a little bit better under the chaos than maybe the Wraith, Pathfinder, Watson teams that we saw so far.
ああ、そうやね。お前常習犯や
And
け
that goes to show like the strength in the comp that you're running, because when we first saw the Pathfinder beacons showing it obviously going to be somewhere either in drill or in like that field area.
お、1。EX
Pathfinder teams usually are just like, oh crap, we got to get a really good spot, because those circles tend to hard favor Gibraltar teams. As I mean, I'm not even surprised just one right there.
Right. クロウって日本
And
語
you
で
can
何
see there's the finals of Game 5, the results of this game, obviously adding to the total point score of the 5 games we've played in Europe today in ALGS
カラスか。
4. And X-Crow Crowd, they come out on top with a 19-point game, which
カラ
is
ス
great.
カラ
They
ス。
had 23 points to start, so what? That puts them to 41 points, which that would be second place if you didn't add any more. 42, but you do. And Myth ends
54
up
ポイント。
taking the
2位と
W
11ポイン
in
ト差か。
online
強っ。
qualifier number 5. Amaz, Oxbow, sure. I mean, what an incredible performance from these guys. The clutches, the incredible 1v2s and plays that we've seen across the board throughout all of this. Myth, a huge congratulations to them. Alliance with a big game in Game 4 coming in second. And of course, X-Crow Crowd, because of that win in Game 5.
かっこよ。日本語訳神話って。
Absolutely, and they got to be happy about that. Going from a 9th place going into that game, ending 3rd is really big for them. Also really big on Alliance. Alliance didn't start with the hottest start, but they pulled themselves back.
マイスカって言っ
Really
ちゃ
big.
うな
I mean, Caustic came in
いやもう
really
Apex
clutch
の
in
プロ
game
チー
4.
ムよくわからん。
But at
調
the
べ
end of
ん
the day, consistency is what wins it. Myth started out strong and they ended strong. They never dropped a bad game in terms of points. 5 games, 54 points. That leads to about like a 10, in between a 10, 11 point average. That's all you need. 10 to 11 points a game. You don't have to drop big 20 or 30 point games. Just 10 to 11 points per game, and that can win you something. I mean, obviously it's a lot easier said than done.
これ賞金いくら出るから優勝。
That's kind of like
わかる
that kind of
APEX の
mentality.
プロ
It's
チームわかん
important
ね
to take in the account the math. You know, a lot of these teams, they want to win, they want to take out like or get those really big points, but it's really just about consistency, and Myth showed that right here.
And that's something to look at from that, inside perspective, where most of these teams have a different way of going about the games at times. Some do look for those big plays, but some also
ああね、
understand
もう
that
海
it is
外
a
の完全に
marathon,
ただ
and
の
this is
有名
exactly
な
why you have to see these
大
teams
型クラブ
rewarded
か。
when somebody can
ということ
consistently
は。
play second and first here, and then maybe third and second again and second again. I mean, that clearly is a team that shows that no matter what's thrown at them, they're able to succeed in this type of RNG, random situation that Battle Royale with loot and zones and teams aggressing on you can be for you. So incredible performance from Myth. I mean, hats off to
どう
them. And
ぞ。
a great
もう
story
優
too.
勝
I
チ
mean,
ームも発表された
definitely
時に見
going
ていいんじゃ
up
ないです
and
か。
down.
俺
We
も
saw
あと2
Massive
回
straight.
APEX やったらもう
Dell
寝
kind
る
of
し。
taking game 1, and Myth also in previous onlines not doing so well in those 3 to 5 games.
ただここでもう1試合とかいう新事実を知らされた時ショックやけん見よる
Not
だ
only
け。
today was great, but I think a sign of improvement overall for the squad, getting better and better, especially for next time.
Absolutely. Big congratulations to them, and shout out to Oxbow. I don't know the other two as well, but I know Oxbow, he's such a nice guy. Absolutely great player with a great mindset. Very happy for him that he won. And especially also happy for IPN placing second with Alliance on his first tournament, being thrown onto Caustic. Like, that's impressive. That's a big shout out to obviously, or a big testament to Hackus's IGLing as well, too, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's a team that I think we looked at it and you said, okay, it happens once, cool, but it happens twice. I mean, this is a legitimate kind of team composition. It's a legitimate structure that works for these guys, and it's not that every team can run this.
俺あと2回やったら寝るよ。
may give it a try, and not have the
APEX2
same
回
level
や
of
ったら寝
success
るよ。
as Hawkins
眠い。
and IPN, especially coming into
もう眠いもん。
this dynamic of playing a Caustic out of not playing it before. But you got to give him and Vapes and all of the crew of Alliance a lot of respect.
あと2回 APEX 集大さらしたら寝るよ。
From XCC jumping up so much to be in the conversation. You got to love what everyone has shown today in our European finals. And we've got so much more coming up for you guys as well. Today's been a jam-packed, action-packed day of action that I think for you, Hotstick, what was your biggest takeaway looking at how we saw these teams play against one another, how they approached these games? Was a little bit more pragmatic than you were used to.
いや、寝るよ。眠いね。こっちとら眠いね。いや、まあ、APEX は一人でやっても楽しい。いや、眠いけんランクマ一回行ったら寝よう。欲しいな。それはハマってないせいじゃね。一人でモチベあかんが。あ。
Just give me a shot and I'll shine like the sun.
It's only over when it's over.
They still think this is a game. It's not.
じゃあマイクラハマっとるやんけ。一人でできるがよ。マイクラ一人は確かにきつい。いや、チャンピオン一人やん。かわいそうすぎる。無語。チャンピオン一人無語。かわいそうすぎるわけ。リスポーンリーコーにたまたま刺さった。おい、ジブラルタルどけ。邪魔。後ろってきてんな。誰痛い。めんどくさい。無理だろ、これ。もう、だるよ、オクタン。だるすぎ。バカだるいやんけ。ミリ。オクタンミリ。もう、あの手のご利用しないポケモンすぎ。てか、オリオが見えちゃるのになんで後ろから迫ってくるのかがわからん。武器取ればよかった。あ、ジブ死んだな。なんでまとまって行動する？まとまって同じ方向から行けばよかった。ジブ終わったな。いったれい。なんでジブ見捨てられたやん。かわいそう。ライフライ一人じゃさすがに無理だろ。あいつ体力残り20かよ。腹立つがいけど。バレたろ。奇跡的にやりようとくるよ。がしかしこのねちっこいオクタン気持ち悪い。絶対にこっち来るやん。こいつ絶対にこっち来るやん。キモ。オクタンキモ。きっしょ。腹立つけんもう一回やろう。バカきっしょ。オクタンが嫌い。オクタン好きな人に悪いけど、オクタンは嫌い。欲しいに悪ない。バカムがつくわ、あいつ、マジ。もう、なんでオリオが目の前で見えちって後ろから近づいてくるのね。気持ち悪い。来んな。 腹減った。はよ寝ろ。パスファ通貨をおい、もう味方に置くたんいらんて、地雷集しかせんや。味方の置くたんが一番地雷や。
Is your champion.
ランク19で3000ハンマーって。サブアカがおるやん、チャンピオン。だる。チャンピオンサブアカはだる。いや、来てんな。データ送った。家かぶっちょ。誰
Attention. First blood.
Body shield here. Level 1.
The battle happens quick. Be ready. Backpack here. Level 2.
いるもんね。
Gotta hop up here. Choke.
Sniper stock here. Level 2.
Dibs.
Hit the eject.
やりやってね。やりやってない。
Attention. Select fire.
New kill leader. Not for long, pal.
The ring is a far distance. 1 minute remains. Let's explore this way.
Thanks.
おるし。
Enemy spotted.
45 seconds. Ring fire.
Sí, por favor.
Hostile spotted. Firing.
We got bad guys over there.
Reloading. Listen up. I'm getting shot at. We found another
どんだけ俺がいったチャージライフルうっざ。あーごめん、良きと思ってないわ。誰ごめんごめんごめんなさいごめんなさいごめんなさいごめんなさい許して。ごめんって。ナイス援護。いやまだおるがかよ。どんだけオクタンしか来んやん。あ、もう俺オクタン恐怖症やわ。ダメや、オクタン恐怖症や。オクタン怖。おい、無限オクタンの競争やめろ。全部オクタンやん。1から10まで全部オクタンやん。怖オクタン。終了。